What's up, guys? It's your boy, the essential John L. Crossfire, aka the real main event, aka the rogue soldier, and today you're about to learn firsthand just what it's like to be caught in the crossfire. But above all else, prepare yourself, because in this very moment, today, right now, you are about to be caught in conversation. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 51 of Caught in Conversation. Straight off the bat, I apologize. One of my neighbors is mowing, so if you can hear that in the background, my bad. But once again this week, for the second week in a row, I am joined by the always lovely Mrs. Crossfire.
Hi, everyone. I'm back.
She's back.
I'm better than ever.
Got a knack. We managed to do it. We've managed to squeeze it in just in time for me to leave for my surgery in a few days' time. It's currently Monday as we record this. We're leaving on Wednesday to have the surgery on Thursday, May 19th. There's a Kane joke in there somewhere, of course. There was a whole hoo-ha about that. See No Evil came out on May 19th. He had PTSD every time someone mentioned it, so he was lashing out, even though they were promoting him. It was good shit, pal. It was good shit. The roles are going to be reversed this week, though. Mrs. Crossfire, you're actually going to be taking control of the bulk of this episode. You're going to be putting me in the hot seat, and I'm a little nervous. This is essentially round two for what will now be last week. By the time you hear this, of course, episode 50, I put Mrs. Crossfire in the hot seat. So by the time this comes out, if you haven't heard that, shame on you. Go back and listen to it, because as I said, this is essentially round two. I haven't really taken any notes for this, so I'm coming into this relatively blind, and literally as I say that, I realize the irony of that statement. But basically, Mrs. Crossfire, she's going to go through the usual core five, and obviously I'm the one that came up with those questions, so I've got a semi-idea of what how to answer some of these questions. But then, of course, Mrs. Crossfire's got the monkey wrench. She's going to throw some, hardballs at me. See what, I don't know what she's come up with, so this could go anywhere and everywhere, but some things, due to the fact that this is predominantly my podcast, some things will be repeated, but it'll all be here in one nice chunk for a change, so yay.
All right, let's go.
Yeah.
You ready to go? You ready? I'm putting you in the hot seat.
There is one question that was sent in by Atticus Lane. It was actually a two-part question, but half of the question, we will have to break the rules. I might need to get a little bit of help from Mrs. Crossfire, and really I'm just curious to hear her response, but we'll get to that when we get there. But after we've gone through me being in the hot seat, and as I said, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit nervous. The shoes on the other foot, so to speak, but it's what it is. It is what it is. I did this to myself. After we've done that, we're going to do a watch-along of the Good Housekeeping match between Jeff Jarrett and China from No Mercy 1999. It's one of those things that it's so bad that it's good, and I don't think Mrs. Crossfire has actually seen it, and that's not going to be the official match of the week. We will reveal that later on, but the song of the week this week, and it's actually picked by Mrs. Crossfire, seeing as how, she will be taking the reins in just a moment. She is, for all intents and purposes, Mrs. Crossfire, right now, you are in control. You are controlling your own narrative, as EC3 would say. But the song of the week this week is Partners in Crime by Set It Off, featuring Ash Costello. Mrs. Crossfire have kind of branded this as our official, unofficial, or unofficial, official, if that makes sense. I don't know. We've basically said that, if you were to escort me to the ring, or if we were to actually team together, this would basically be our theme song, I guess.
Yeah.
Now I'll hand it over to you. But that song of the week was Partners in Crime by Set It Off, featuring Ash Costello. And now, Mrs. Crossfire, we're not quite 5 minutes in, so that was a pretty quick intro. I'm happy with that. I don't know how long these questions will take to answer. I don't know how many questions you have, but
quite a few.
Starting right now, you're in control.
You ready? You ready?
I mean, Look, as I said, I did this to myself. I did this to myself.
All right, let's get into it, guys. Alrighty. So, number 1, what is your earliest wrestling memory?
So this is one that I've talked about briefly a couple of times here and there in the pod, but it always gets jumbled. Like, as you know, the last time I went to Goulburn when I got on the wrong train, which I discussed on the episode that I aptly named The Train Ride from Hell a couple of weeks ago, I was having this conversation with my cousin Azza. And it kind of, like, ever since I was born, like, wrestling just, for some reason, as far as I can remember, it was always just, it was a thing. It was just always, it was always there, even though I didn't know who, wrestlers were. Like, professional wrestling was just, it was just a thing, I guess. And I suppose, I was born early 90s, so that's when it was kind of in its stride. Then, obviously, a couple of years later, it really took off with the Attitude Era. But my cousin Aaron, he had a bunch of action figures, and then I had other friends, like, I'll shout him out, my mate Billy, he had action figures as well. And then, of course, there was the Nintendo 64 games and then the very early PlayStation 1 games. And it kind of all blends together, if I'm honest. I can't remember what came first, but what really sticks out to me when people say, what's your earliest wrestling memory? It's playing with those action figures with my cousin. And that's how I originally found out who Hulk Hogan was and, Kevin Nash. And he had a Wolfpack Sting figure, which...
Oh, cool.
Years later, he gave them to my nephew, my oldest nephew. Unfortunately, my nan's dog got a hold of the Wolfpack Sting, and he, rest in peace, Wolfpack Sting. That was a sad day for me, because I was like, do you know how much that's worth? Even out of the packaging? Man. Big oofed, as the kids say. But yeah, just my earliest memory is just playing with action figures with my cousin and my friends. And then one that really sticks out is, of course, No Mercy 64 for the Nintendo 64. Still to this day, arguably, the greatest wrestling game of all time. My favorite is still Here Comes the Pain for PS2, but arguably one of the greatest games. And then SmackDown 1 for PS1. I was talking to Azza about this, how it was actually his game. And again, this is where it comes in me repeating myself, because I did talk about this on the Train Ride from Hell episode, because I mentioned the conversation that I had, with Azza and kind of thing. It's just getting all nostalgic as fuck, but... Yeah. He owned SmackDown 1 for PS1, and even though he owned the game, I'm positive I've played it, literally double the amount of time that he did. Like, it was just always there. But yeah, it was just playing with action figures and playing the really early video games, and then realizing that, wait, this is an actual thing. And as I got older, my first ever t-shirt was from like an Asian market. It was a bootleg Rock t-shirt. Thought I was so cool. Like, literally every time we'd have a casual closed day at school, I'd always wear that same Rock t-shirt, which is kind of ironic, because years later now, it's like, if, there's always the question of, Rock or Austin, right? I'm always with Austin.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I was like, I'm so fucking cool and I'm tough, and look at me in my Rock t-shirt. But
you're one of those kids.
That was my earliest memory, was I was playing with the action figures, and then, as it subsequently went on, it was, this is a real thing. Like,
it's
on TV.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll move on to the next question. So the next question is number 2. What was the deciding factor that got you into the business, and when did you decide you wanted to get into it?
So again, this is why I'm going to try and rush through the core 5 portion of it as quick as I can. But the deciding factor, there's the one spot. Most people that know me by now know that it was... Yeah. It's TLC 2. It's WrestleMania 17. Jeff Hardy is dangling 20 feet in the fucking air, and it's in the day and age of the digital cameras. There's camera flashes. There's literally like, 60, 70,000 people in that arena or some crazy number, I don't know. And here's Edge flying off a ladder. He spears in. And I can't remember how old I was when I first saw that, because that, obviously, WrestleMania 17, that was the year 2001. So I don't know if it was the same year I saw that or it was a year or two after, but... It was around the same time, because as I said, I had friends and cousins, so I was kind of getting bits and pieces by that point. And I just remember being a kid at like, how old would I have been? Actually, I probably would have been around the time it did happen, because I would have been about 7 or 8. Yeah. And I was just like, I want to do that. Like, not that, as I got older, it's like, it wasn't that specific spot, but it's just like, I want to do that. Like, that is awesome. I want to do that. And it's funny, because a lot of people that I've talked to have shared that same memory, that same spot. It's like, how messed up do you have to be as a person to see a dude fall from that height and be like, I want to do that?
No, I see it as it's like they inspired you, so you want to inspire another like person or kid kind of thing.
Later
that's
on,
how I view it.
That's what it came into.
Yeah.
I feel like that'll come more in the second part of the question. I wrote the core 5 and I can't even remember the exact wording of that.
Yeah.
But I think that's what made me want to do it. And then it's, when did I decide that I was going to do it? And then how I did it, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically like, as the years go on, you have this Edge Jeff Hardy moment. And then as you grow up, a dude comes along by the name of John Cena. He starts rapping. I was like, 10 years old and I was listening to Eminem and I thought I was cool as fuck. Like, that was my jam. So who's this dude? He's rapping. So instantly, John Cena, he was my fucking guy. And then, because of that, I'm introduced into, Eddie Guerrero, who eventually goes on to just become my absolute fucking idol. But basically, going on, and I think it was may have been the Q&A episode. I can't remember. It was one of the ones that you and I did. I think we've talked about it on the pod. If not, it is definitely a conversation we've had. But I'm almost positive the mics are on. But basically, as a kid, you kind of you're getting bullied and stuff. So I'm hyper focusing even more on like the John Cenas and the Eddie Guerreros and Rey Mysterios and whoever else, like Stone Cold, Taker, like even going back and. By that point, you've got VHS tapes. What are those?
What?
DVDs, which you've seen my collection. I still have the majority of every wrestling DVD I've ever owned. So it's like just watching it on TV or going back and, watching the DVDs, playing the games, and just basically having that come my escape. I was like, no, I'm 100%. Somehow, some way, one day I've got to do this. And it's like you say, like, this is where it kind of gets like a little bit, I don't know, I don't want to get too feelsy, but like my dad, right? Like he used to tell me about the Hulk Hogan's and the Macho Man, ooh, yeah, Randy Savage and Jake the Snake Roberts and how he had the snake, but then Ricky Steamboat pulls out a goanna and snakes are scared of goannas. And it's like, what in the fuck kind of wrestling did you watch when you were a kid? But then I go back and I watch that and I see that, okay, that for him, that was, my dad, obviously he passed away from tongue cancer. When he was a child, the first time he ever got cancer, he was about 12 or 13 years old. So wrestling for him was like his escape from fucking life, right?
Yeah.
Right? So then I grow up and I'm watching, as I say, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, fucking throw a stone and hit any wrestler. Like, every wrestler was my favorite wrestler. Like, it's like at one point, if that makes sense, because it's just like they were all just these larger than life characters, and like they're helping me. But it's just like the eye issues that I'm having now. I've dealt with them my entire life, and because kids are pricks, you're getting bullied because you're blind. Like, your health sucks. Like, sort of thing. And then there's that. So then there's behavioral issues and whatever else, but, and then, my parents went through a divorce, poor me, everyone's, been through that, whatever, but wrestling was always my escape. And then at the same time, if you've had a good day, I'm going to come back and kick my feet up and still watch some wrestling. It's like, I want to somehow be, for someone, like, obviously as a kid, you picture yourself at WrestleMania or whatever else.
Yeah.
I don't need that, but originally that's what spurred it was. I want to be this larger than life character, and obviously it's kind of evolved from now where I'm like, look, if I can make one person just distract one person or distract two people, and I've been lucky enough to have a handful of people that I've managed to actually connect with, and that means a lot to me because that's why I decided that no, I have to do this. I need to be this person's escape. Like, I don't want to be a hero or an idol, so to speak, because I know that sounds a little bit vain, but I'm just like, if I can help this person forget about their problems for like, just, if I'm in the ring for 10 minutes and for that 10 minutes, nothing else in the world matters to them, that's all I wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
And then how it actually happened is, it would have been 2012, because that was the year that I graduated from high school. I go to an ICW Goulburn show. I believe that was just before ICW Goulburn had actually been formed. I think that's when they were still doing a couple of tour shows here and there.
Yep.
And I was just like, cool, I'm going to come and I'm going to do this. And whoop. But I went to an ICW Goulburn show and we did just have a knock at the door. So if the sound randomly changes halfway through that answer, my bad. But I went to an ICW Goulburn show and I was just like watching it, it's wrestling. It was the first ever indie event I ever went to because as a kid, you'd have local wrestling come through and I was a fucking snob. And I think in a way it's kind of karma because I've had that many people over the years say, oh, we'll come watch you. And then they've never come to watch me. But as a kid, I was like, no, it's not WWE. I don't give a shit. Like, why would I want to go see that? And then obviously, you get to high school and I discover TNA with Andrew and Chapo. And it's like, fuck, there's other wrestling out there. And then you kind of start seeing little bits and pieces of what is the independence as a teenager. And I'm like, oh, okay, I might actually go check this show out. And then Mr. Saturday Night, a.k.a. Tristan Slade, he literally just added me on Facebook because he'd heard that I wanted to be a wrestler, and he's literally just like, come down. Like, it's that simple. Like, come down, help us set up, pay your dues, show us that you're actually, actually willing to do this and put in the hard work. And then every couple of months when they'd have shows, I'd go down. So I was only training like, once every 3 months, 4 months. And even then I was only at like the fist bump stage, but I'm like, it's cool. I was helping doing ring crew. I was helping doing stuff. And then kind of, they'd ICW, Rex, they'd let me watch the show for free. That was kind of like, my payment because I helped set up or whatever else, And then, after about a year or so after that, it had finally became ICW Goulburn. I think the first show after that show, the first show that I was at helping set up was the first official ICW Goulburn show. And then unfortunately, I don't want to go too into details, but Rex has had health issues over the years. That was when he'd had his first stroke. And that kind of ICW Goulburn kind of, it wasn't a priority anymore. And, why the fuck should it be, right? Like, the dude that runs it has some serious health issues. So we had a couple of shows and then it just kind of fizzled out. And I'm like, cool, there goes that. Like, my foot in the door, it's gone. Like, I'm never going to be able to wrestle. And then, all of a sudden I end up in Canberra due to, reasons I've documented. I was with another woman at the time and
ew.
I moved in with her and she moved out, her room became our room became my room, whatever. My mum and I was like, oh, there's a wrestling show on. And it didn't register. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, it's $10. And then I realized that, oh, these are the same guys that used to come to Goulburn. Let me check it out, right? I'm like, cool, went to the show. It was fun. Added a couple of the dudes, and I was like, hey, look, I used to come down at Goulburn, and luckily people like Mike Kelly, Nick Maltino, Tank, stuff like that, they did actually remember me from those shows. And they're like, no, look, this is where training is. This is the days that it's on, blah, 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 blah. And it just, it literally, everything kind of, like, it sounds cliche and it's not as great, story as other people, but it kind of literally just fell into place. Like, I saw that Jeff Hardy spot at 7, 8 years old and was like, I want to do that. I watch this Eddie Guerrero versus Edge match like a year, well, just the actual match happened a year after, but I saw it, I think 2007, maybe 2008 was when I saw it when I was about 13, 14. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna do that. Because for me, that was when I was really at the height of having issues with my eyes. Like my first cornea transplant in the other eye was when I was 16, but I started to really go blind at 14. But what little eyesight I have, what little eyesight I had, rather, was just consumed with anything and everything professional wrestling related. And then, fast forward, 2012, I go check out this event, and then it sparked from there. So as I say, like, tripping over my words here. I've been thrown off by the fact that my parcel just came. I was hoping it'd come before we started recording. So again, I do apologize to you guys if halfway through that answer, the sound does change a little bit, but it's... Yeah. Did I make sense with that? I don't know.
I think you did, yeah.
This is why I prefer being the interviewer, but I was like, no, I need to make myself more vulnerable on my podcast. I do it to everyone else.
Yeah, and everyone needs to learn more about you, so I think this is good.
I've only actually done one official interview at this point, and that's the one that I recently did with Joel Southgate on his YouTube channel, because every time I'd have so many people hit me up over the years, and it's just something had come up, Like, even when I was John the
Yeah.
Ref, they're like, hey, can you do this? And then it's like, you'd get called into work or this or that. It's life. It happens. But
Yeah.
what better platform than, having my own wife put on her, her interview pants and be like, okay, so what's going on?
Yeah, what's happening? Anyway,
But
should probably move on to...
Did I answer that question? Like,
Yeah,
did I do it justice?
I think you did, yeah.
Because we're about 20 minutes in now. It's going to be a little bit less because I'm going to have to trim out the dead space as I went to run to get my parcel. But 2 questions in, 20 minutes, that seems to be the norm for most of these. We were only 1 question in for 20 minutes when we did yours.
Yeah.
It was actually a couple of days ago, but it'll be last week by the time they hear it. But I'm ranting regardless.
Yes.
What is the next question,
Right.
Mrs. Crossfire?
So this is question...
Take control.
This is question number 3. What is your favourite match of all time, both that you've had personally and that you've seen?
So the one that I've seen again, I've said it on the podcast a couple of times, Halloween Havoc 1997.
Yeah.
It's Ray and Eddie. Straight away it jumps out. Now I said this to you on the last episode that I probably couldn't put 5 together, but if I really thought about it, maybe. But that Edge versus Eddie match on that episode of SmackDown, the No DQ match, would honestly probably come in at number 2. And then number 3, I don't know. Like, there's the Cactus Jack one versus Triple H that you talked about.
Yeah.
But there's so many matches that stick out to me. Like, there's Rock versus Hogan, right? It's not a great match per se, but just that whole atmosphere and the crowd reaction is what makes it just such a spectacle. And you can go back and you can watch it over and over again, still enjoy it. Like any of the Rock versus Austin WrestleMania matches, the whole entire Ray versus Eddie feud in 2005 when it led to the ladder match, like even Batista versus Undertaker at WrestleMania 23 is a kind of, it's not a hidden gem because people do look at it, but Mrs. Crossfire just cracked
Speaking of Austin.
some sort of blue raspberry rockstar. Like Batista versus Taker at WrestleMania 23. I remember watching that with Andrew at his house. And that was, the internet was well and truly in full effect by that point. That was 2007. But we were young kids. We didn't really have access to it. So, we went to school. Although we missed it live, we watched the replay straight after. And it was like watching it live to us. And I remember that match marked me out. But yeah, I think I'm going to keep ranting otherwise. But yeah, there's so many matches that there's like probably 20 matches that I could sit here and put in like, third, fourth, fifth place. And they're all tied.
Sure.
But Ray and Eddie, long answer short.
Yeah. Yep.
Favorite match that I've had, there's 2 that stick out.
Okay.
One is just a sentimental reason, and that's the match that I had with James Hellfire. It was his first ever match. Unfortunately, a little bit tainted due to where it happened and the way that I was treated.
Yep.
We've talked about that before.
That's
Leave
fair.
it at that, whatever.
Yep.
But being in that position and being trusted to kind of I'll say carry him. He won't take offense when I say that because he knows what I mean. But being trusted to kind of carry him through that, make it to the other side. And did we have the best match ever? 100% no. But I have seen people that are at the highest of highs, they're on worldwide television, that had a first ever match. And it was fucking terrible in comparison to what we managed to pull out. And I, as vain as it may sound to some, I look back at that and I'm so fucking proud of that because it could have gone so wrong. Like, like there was a couple of stiff shots in there. I kind of knocked his jaw out of place momentarily, like the first 2 minutes of the match, but that he admitted that was on him. He turned his head. He froze up because he was nervous. Shit happens, but to carry him through that, to get the reaction that we did, again, the connection that we managed to get from the people in that building, you can't duplicate that.
Yeah.
But I think if I had to pick one, and it would probably, from a match quality standpoint, it 100% beats what me and James did. And as I said, it was his first match ever. That's not a slide on him. He's my best mate. I love him to death. But probably the best match, and by default then my favorite match, is a match that I had in 2018. Actually, no, I think it was 2019. I apologize. January 2019 against Sam Driver at Insanity. We went out there. His opponent no-showed. My opponent no-showed. You know, cards have subject to change. Naturally, it was like, fuck it, you guys, you know.
Throw it in there.
You've got 12.
See what happens.
You've got 12 minutes. Go out there. Sam's going over. Yeah, cool, no worries. I'm just like, how can I make this dude look good? And he did the exact same thing to me. It didn't matter at the end of the day who won and lost. Like, he was currently the Canberra champion at the time, the ICW/CPW Canberra champion. Of course, it's a inter-promotional championship. But, you know, he was going over. He was retaining the title, but it was just like, let's go out there and have the best match possible. And we did that. We had match of the night. We had multiple people backstage tell us that, and we had one of the better reactions of the night too. That was
good.
Probably the only time, and it's one of those things where, again, this is why I have a t-shirt that says not ego, just fact, because every time I've gone out there, I have always gotten the desired reaction, whether they wanted to boo me, or whether the company wanted me to be booed, or whether they wanted me to be cheered. I went out there and I did that, right? This is the only match where I got booed as a face, but that's because it was Sam's family and friends. But it worked so well because it was almost like a John Cena, Roman Reigns type thing where all the little kids and stuff were cheering for me, and then all the adults were cheering for Sam. And it was just, again, it's like, obviously we're not the caliber of a Rock and Hogan, but just the match we were having was pretty solid. And then the fans kind of reacting almost in Bizarro land, basically, just took it up even further. And obviously, you know, we had a bit of a schmoz finish where James Hellfire and Tank were arguing on the outside, so that's how I lost, because I was distracted. Yada, yada, yada. But it was just for all accounts, in my opinion, and again, that might sound vain, but it was a great fucking match. And it's another one that I need to get like the DVD off, you know, ICW or Rex or someone, because that's a match that you haven't seen, because it's not on YouTube. But it's probably the match I'm most proud of. And again, like you answer it with one, you know, what's the one? But the chair match with Parker Gates.
Yep.
Like I say this every chance I get, but if it wasn't for her, I never would have come out of my shell at all.
Yep.
I just would have been on the sidelines. I would have been a manager, and I would have been like, yay, this is who I am, kept my head down. But she's like, no, like, you know, she basically told me behind the scenes, you know, she had a big hand in training me that, like, no, this is who you are. This is what you're capable of. Go out there and fucking do it.
Yeah.
And
you needed that brutal honesty.
Really,
yep.
You know, again, not the greatest match ever, but we got a great reaction. The fans were invested. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. All right. Sweet. So moving on to number 4. So we've got, who is your ultimate dream opponent and what is your dream stipulation? So
my ultimate dream opponent, and this is weird because if I was to put together, like I've put together like a top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time, and I've mentioned before, it goes Eddie, Macho Man, John Morrison, Dolph Ziggler, AJ Styles. Number 5 on that list is AJ Styles, but out of anyone ever, just in terms of a pure like style, no pun intended, but I feel like, you know, AJ Styles is that guy where he can do anything, and he's not your traditional wrestler. Like, he was somewhat of a fan, but he always wanted to play basketball and football and yada, 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 and he kind of just fell into wrestling and just became this just fucking phenomenal performer, I guess. He, you know, I guess for lack of a better term, that's that's his moniker, right? Like, he's just so good. He was always, even as a kid, like, you know, even when AJ was in like TNA and New Japan, I was always creating him on all of my video games because, like, you got to have AJ Styles, right? Like, he's AJ fucking Styles. And for me, I always had, everyone knows that I've got, you know, kind of another alter ego other than Crossfire. I wanted to be the sensational Leslie Johns, right? So then you've got the sensational one, you got the phenomenal one. I then created another alter ego where I was, which basically in my head because it's in the video game, but I was LJ Styles before that morphed into the sensational Leslie Johns, and I was a tag team with my created AJ Styles in the video game because there was just something to me that in my head, I always pictured myself, I was teaming with AJ Styles as LJ Styles, as cringy as that is to say out loud, and then it morphs into, Leslie Johns versus AJ Styles. Another guy would be Chris Jericho. Again, I don't think I've seen him have a bad match, in the last 20 years. Like, people shit on him now because, his weight fluctuates up and down in AEW. Whatever, he's getting, I don't want to say he's getting old, but he's not as young as he once was, is my point, You got
to look at it too, like when he goes to New Japan, he bulks up.
Yeah,
so
in New Japan, he does it on purpose because it makes him look bigger than the other competitors, which is smart.
Yeah.
But yeah, AJ Styles is number one, Chris Jericho is number two, and then obviously I'd have to just for the sake of saying it, I'd have to throw Eddie out there as well. But number one, it's always been AJ Styles. I don't know what it is, but since I was like 13, 14, I always in my head, it's obviously never going to happen. But in my head, since the age of 13, it was just like, I want to wrestle AJ Styles.
Well, some stuff that you showed me from TNA.
It's just something that just clicked in my head.
Yeah, well, some stuff you showed me from TNA of his, I'm like, fuck. Like, I've seen him in WWE, I'm like, yeah, he's good, he's great. But then you see, like, TNA stuff of his, and it's like, holy fucking shit, this dude is athletic as fuck. Like, he is in WWE as well.
And you know that he's still capable of that stuff. Yeah,
he's still capable, but
he doesn't need to do it, which is the great thing.
It's kind of like he was doing some stupid shit because he's, like, technically indies because of TNA.
Yeah, he's very young, he's trying to get noticed. And then, look at him, he's one of the few guys, Adam Cole came into NXT, but AJ Styles was fast-tracked. He's never been... Well, he's had a couple matches in NXT now, but he literally went straight from Impact to New Japan, fast-track, debuts in the Royal Rumble. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Face-to-face with Roman Reigns. Like...
What?
How?
Yeah. Oh.
This dude that used to grind in, the bingo halls, as, people would say.
Yeah. Hot dog and a handshake.
As Chris Jericho said, his first wrestling match, he got a handshake and half a cup of orange juice because he got the last bit of the bottle.
Yes. I love it.
But yeah, AJ Styles definitely number one. But as for dream stipulations, Mrs. Crossfire is already aware of this. It's funny, we're not going to say your real name, but your initials before marrying me were TLC. The irony of that is that tables, ladders, and chairs, oh my! Always. And again, I think what it is it harkens back to that Edge.
Yeah, that Edge match.
That Edge spot. That, Hardys versus the Dudleys versus Edge and Christian. I think maybe it's a subconscious thing, but I think that's what it is. It's I'm afraid of heights, right? I'm afraid of heights. Yeah. I can come off the top rope, that's fine. But I'm like, for the sake of it, it's like, no, for the sake of the moment, the quicker I get up the ladder, the quicker I get to come back down anyway. So it's like...
And I mean, you know how to bump. Just fucking bump. Just tuck your chin, you'll be right,
There's like the Money in the Bank ladder match in 2007, going back to that WrestleMania that I just briefly mentioned when I mentioned Taker and Batista. That's the opener of that show. It's probably still my favorite Money in the Bank match today. And you've got, they're trying to do big spots without just... They're trying to be original as they can. And you've got Randy Orton hitting RKOs off ladders, fucking Booker T hitting the bookend off ladders, and it's just like, it's so basic yet so effective because they're over as finishes as it is. So, you do it from a 15-foot ladder. Obviously, it's more effective. I've always pictured myself the rolling neck breaker that I did as Crossfire, and that was the first move I ever hit in a wrestling ring. That was like my one of two moves I hit in my first ever match. I built that as one of my big, signature moves, right? I always pictured myself, I could do that off a ladder, through a table, it's so fucking basic. I'm literally just rolling over, flat back, boom, but I'm like, I can literally picture that in my head, like the dude's trying to climb and here I come, boom, neck breaker, off the ladder, holy shit,
Yep.
And like we mentioned in your episode where you said you want to be in a rumble, like I've been lucky to be in a couple of rumbles, but yeah, like I'll be in, if that, like obviously, I'm not cleared to compete, but I'll come back once a year and just be in a rumble, do something, get thrown over the top. And I'd be happy with that. Yeah. Like there's just something fun about the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, out he comes, boom.
Then you're getting your shit in, and then you're out. You're out.
Another one that I'd love to do, which unfortunately, it's hard to find a venue, but I've always just wanted to be in a cage match. And again, I'm afraid of heights, but I harken back to Jimmy Superfly Snuka, and then Eddie Guerrero did it. I'm like, I could hit a frog splash or drop an elbow off the top of the cage because why the fuck not?
I mean, adrenaline's pumping. You're not going to fucking notice. That's going to go straight out the window. Adrenaline's pumping. And
it'd be like the Fat Man elbow too, like Mick Foley did when he did the Triple H. It's just he's kind of there and it's just a boom.
Boom, chicka chow.
But yeah, there's plenty. Like, you can talk about, elimination chambers, and you mentioned lumberjack matches. Just last man standing is a big one, but the one that I really wanted to do with a 3 stages of hell, just in general, doesn't matter specifically what the stipulations are, because that then opens up. I could do 3 different stipulations, within the confines of the same match. But a Texas death match, for lack of a better term, like obviously, wouldn't go full blown death match. Like, I want to, dabble in tacks, barbed wire, tubes. That's as bad as far as it goes.
Yeah.
But a Texas death match where it's the last man standing match, but you have to get the pin or submission before getting it. I wanted to do that with Diaz, where it's like, he, says, say 10, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Do like, okay, let's have 10. And he's like, no, well, let's make it, lucky number 13 or something like that, right? But I think, like TLC, number 1, but I've always really wanted to do a Texas death match. And even though I've had been lucky enough to be in a handful of them, I'm still a sucker for the Rumble.
Yep. Okay.
That was a long-winded answer, but again, I think that's the whole point of that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just not used to being like on the other side of this, and because it is my own podcast, I don't want to sit here and just waffle on, because I don't want to feel like I'm trying to, be egotistical or I don't want to be a mark for myself. Like that's never gonna be me. Like
I'll just chime in here. It's not ego, it's just fact.
Buy the t-shirt at prowrestlingtees.com/crossfire. Shout out to Jackson Thornhiller, who wrestles in my t-shirt.
Alrighty. So, just playing off that before, when you were saying like your number 1 ultimate dream opponent was AJ, who is actually your top 5?
Top 5, yeah. So, Eddie, Macho Man, John Morrison, Johnny Mundo. I'm actually wearing his t-shirt right now. Johnny Superstar. Johnny Gimmick name, whatever the fuck you want to call him.
Yep.
Dolph Ziggler, AJ Styles.
Okay.
In that order. Kevin Owens, a.k.a. Kevin Steen.
Yep.
It's kind of slowly starting, because if I was to put 10 together, I could probably give you 6 and 7.
Yep.
But 8, 9, and 10 are continually changing, and the order is going to change. Like number 6, if I was to go 6, would probably be Jericho.
Yep.
And then I'd give you a Taker. But then, and it might shock people, guys like a Matt Hardy pops out as well.
Yep.
Like I originally remember years ago, I put a list together on Facebook. And people are like, oh, you forgot this person, or how is this person?
But it's your list.
Blah, blah, blah. But it was originally, I've already answered top 5, so I'll go top 10 for the sake of this, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
I've got the first 5, and then I went, number 6, I had Jericho. Number 7 or 8, it was either Taker or Matt Hardy. I can't remember which list it was. And then I went Rey Mysterio and Stone Cold again. I can't remember which order specifically it was in, but that was it. But number 5 is there, but guys like Kevin Owens and stuff are coming out. Like, Dolph Ziggler's still my boy, but I don't know. I feel like Kevin Owens has made his way in, and again, it's like number 6 is like a fucking 4-5-way tie with like all of these people, and Kevin Owens is making it in. Like Kevin Owens and Jericho, they're kind of jockeying for number 6, and then he kind of as he's fighting with Jericho, he's still looking at AJ, and he's like, I'm coming for that number 5 spot. So I don't know, like a definitive answer: Eddie, Macho Man, Morrison, Dolph Ziggler, and AJ Styles in that order.
Yep. Okay. Now, this is going to throw you off a little bit. Who are your top 5 least favourite wrestlers? Yeah, this has got you thinking. I knew this would get you.
Oh, so, like, it's one of those things where, like, there's people I don't like for different reasons, because some of them, like, I don't like their characters, and, like, that's fine. That's a completely
that's fine. You can change your character. Yeah.
To me, I don't think they're a good wrestler. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But then...
It's just your opinion,
in this day and age, you see people that have really fucking shitty attitudes, and you know that that's who they are, and they're not playing like Ryback.
Yeah. Yep.
Fuck you, dude. Like, he's never gonna hear this, but fuck you, dude. Fuck you.
Yeah. Yep.
No, he's not. But again, I wouldn't. Probably, if I was to put the list of least favorite, he probably wouldn't even be in that 5, but he stands out as just because he has a bad attitude. But
Yeah.
top 5. See, because like I've obviously consumed a lot of wrestlers, so there's a lot of generic like jobbers and stuff that have come through that I'm just like,
yeah, you generic, like, yeah. Yep.
okay. So if you had have asked me this like a couple of years ago,
Yep.
number 5 probably would have been Dean Ambrose / John Moxley, just because I didn't like even even as Moxley, I'm still not sold on him in the ring, but his promos get me. And, I mean, a promo's a promo, right? Like, it's just as important. Look at The Rock.
Yeah.
If I was really to do it, and I'll do it currently, just based on what it is. Number 1 is Braun Strowman, Adam Scherr. I get he's a big bad dude. If I said that to his face, he'd probably punch me. Whatever. Violence solves nothing in the real world. I don't think he's a good wrestler.
Yep.
Based on his comments, I don't think he's a good person.
That's fair.
People can live and learn, you know. Maybe he'll mature, but I just...
And it's
he never did anything for me, and he just... Over the years, he's just proven himself worse and worse, like, regardless of how over he may or may not have been.
Yep.
A guy... Oh, see, this is hard, because Sheamus is a guy that I'm not a fan of.
Yeah.
But I respect the fact that he busts his ass, but I'd still I'd still probably put him on that list.
Yeah, well, it's not saying that they're the worst. It's just they're your least favourite. Like, your 5 least favourites. So, you know.
Okay, I'd probably go Braun Strowman, Sheamus. Bobby Fish is a dude that... He's so fucking talented.
Yeah.
And I can recognise that. I can, but I've never liked him. And no matter what he does...
Yeah.
Every time he comes on my TV, I'm just like, eh.
Ugh, yeah.
And I don't know, like, even when he's a babyface, I'm just like, thank you, next.
Yeah, there's just something about him that throws you off.
Speaking of Bobby Fish, Roderick Strong.
Yep.
Fantastic wrestler, but there's lots of fantastic wrestlers out there.
Yeah.
And see, I was going to say Bryan Danielson, but again...
He's changed your mind a little bit?
No, like, I'm not a fan of him as Bryan Danielson, or as Bryan Danielson or Daniel Bryan, rather. But again, one of the greatest wrestlers in ring of all time, and I've studied him at the same time, so I don't know if I can really put him in there, but I'd probably, what did I say? Braun Strowman, Sheamus, Bobby Fish, Roderick Strong, Michael Elgin, and... I don't want to get like too like crazy on the show, but I was never the biggest fan of him in Ring of Honor. Like, everyone was tooting his horn, and I was just like, yeah, like, you know, he wasn't doing anything for me. And then, you know, there's been allegations and stuff, most of which have been proven true. So I'm just like, kind of solidified that even further for me. But yeah, I think maybe top 5 least favorite wrestlers. Would probably be that. And again, I know, as I said, with Braun, might sound personal just because I wasn't sold on the character, and then as a person, he's you know, he kind of seems to like be a bit of a dick, and then he tries to blame it on mental health, which is, I have mental health. That, you know, it does make it is a reason for some things, but to kind of, oh yeah, sorry, I said that, I have mental health, please excuse me. No, it doesn't, you know, still doesn't excuse consequences.
It's a bit insulting.
Like what he said about the indie wrestlers and stuff, like, this is your fault. You should have gotten jobs. It's your fault that you're going broke. Get a real job, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And now he's on the indies, and when people point that out, he's like, this isn't an indie company. Yes, it is. Yes, it fucking is. And that's not a bad thing, because most of the time we consume nothing but indie wrestling in this household. Because we're filthy fucking marks.
Yep.
But yeah, I think Braun, Sheamus, Bobby Fish, Roderick Strong, Michael Elgin.
Okay. Yep.
Bit of a weird list.
It's kind of just like, you know, if you were, that's how I wanted to put it in perspective. Like, if you were watching a match and like it was, say, like these people versus each other, you'd just skip it because you're just like, they're my least favorite. Because, like, I'm not really interested.
I mentioned Bryan Danielson, and he wasn't in the match. There's a match between him and Sheamus at a 2 out of 3 falls match at Extreme Rules in 2012, 2013. I think it was 2012. But yeah, fantastic match. But Sheamus is one of those guys where it depends on who he's in there with. Like, for example, if he's in there with a Randy Orton or whatever, yeah, okay. Yeah. It's probably going to be this match. Yeah. But yeah, like, it's one of the reasons I haven't really been paying attention to Raw and SmackDown as of late is, you know, people are whinging because they've changed Pete Dunne's name, whatever. Fucking, a name's a name. But Sheamus is currently paired with Ridge Holland, who I also, you might even, you know, take out fucking Sheamus and put Ridge Holland at number 2, right? Like, It just, yeah.
Like, it's interchangeable. Like,
It's all subjective, but
yeah.
I think we should move on, because otherwise I'm going to sit here overthinking this question for the next, like, half an hour.
I knew it was going to be a hard one. I was like, I have to throw that in there, because I knew you wouldn't think about that.
That is something that, I haven't actually thought about. So
yeah, and I actually haven't ever...
Kudos to Mrs. Crossfire for... Again, this is why I'm like, I'm not going to take notes. I'm probably going to ramble, but let's fucking do this and see how we go.
Yeah. All right. So my next one is, why is Eddie your all-time fave wrestler? Why? What makes him so stands out compared to like all the other wrestlers you can think of?
One of those things where, and we discussed this on your episode, where the reason that you got sucked into professional wrestling is because you've always been a fan of the human brain and psychology and stuff. So of course, when you watch wrestling, you need that connection. And I honestly couldn't tell you why or how, but there was just something to Eddie where I mean,
something about him.
In a way, you can explain how, like, you look at him, he's 5'8", right?
Yep.
I'm 5'9.5". I'm an inch and a half taller than the dude I idolized, and he was a world champion. So, as silly as it may sound, like, who says I can't be a world champion? I'm taller than the dude that I idolize. Like, obviously he was a very special talent, which is why, Vince McMahon looked past that, because obviously that was very much still in the big guy, big muscles kind of era. But it's just his antics. He just oozed charisma no matter whether. I can see that. And again, you wanted him to get booed, he'll get booed. Maybe he'll resort to cheap heat now and then, but still works. You want him to get cheered? My God, he's going to get fucking cheered.
He made a whole fucking gimmick out of cheap heat. I swear. Like, some of the
cheating baby face. Like, the light cheats.
It's great.
That gimmick started as him and Chavo being heels. But they were just so fucking entertaining that they're like...
it's like, let's do this shit.
Let's flip this and look at what it became. Like, even to this day, like, they're still selling Eddie merch, and they're always going to sell Eddie merch.
Exactly,
and you and I will both continue to be ones that are buying the Eddie merch. Like,
yes.
But yeah, it's just the charisma and just the ability. It's one of those things where it sounds really cliche, but he truly had the it factor. He truly was the complete package. You wanted him to fly? He'll fly. You want him to brawl? He'll brawl. You want him to grapple? He'll grapple. He had an amateur wrestling background. He could do everything. And even in his promos, like, he wasn't coming out like The Rock and, poontang pie, jabroni, laying the smacker down, but he was genuine. He was himself, and he had like that little bit of, charm that kind of threw the charisma in there on the mic. And then obviously in the ring, as I've just repeated myself now, the charisma was there 100%. Like, he had it in every aspect. In some aspects, higher than others, but still above average, realistically, in any category that you look at, and you just wrap it up, put a bow on it, it's like, that's the fucking guy.
Yep. Yeah, I can see that. Yep.
There's this argument that Shawn Michaels is the greatest of all time, Ric Flair, Kurt Angle recently said Chris Jericho has overtaken Shawn Michaels.
Okay.
I personally would agree with that. That's just my opinion, but Kurt Angle's another one. Went from the Olympics doing amateur wrestling to, in a year, becoming one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. And from a pure wrestling standpoint, I would actually even argue for Kurt Angle to be the greatest of all time. I think as a star,
as a whole,
The Undertaker is the greatest of all time in terms of a presentation. You want me to say the biggest draw? I'd say Stone Cold Steve Austin, still to this day, is the biggest draw in the history of professional wrestling. The Rock became a bigger star, but that was because of the movies. Yeah, the wrestling helped him get there, but the movies is what made him a star. Stone Cold Steve Austin is a star because of professional wrestling. Eddie Guerrero, he's not the greatest in any particular one, but when you put them all together, you could actually argue that he is in the conversation.
Yep, I could see that because you got the charisma, the athleticism.
I know that some of that may have contradicted one or the other, but I was trying to use examples that made sense. But yeah, I'm hoping I answered that question. Because again, that's something that Joel Southgate on his YouTube is like, what are some of your favourite Eddie memories and matches? Like, I'll rattle that off, bang, bang, bang. Yeah. I'll be here all day. I'll sit here and tell you for an hour which matches. I'll just list every match you had.
Well, this is a little bit of a follow-on from that. What was the first Eddie match that you actually saw?
First match I actually saw properly that I can recall was we're at a friend's house of my dad. We're down in Melbourne, I believe. Was whoops, my phone just fell down. I'm pretty sure the microphone just picked that up. Whatever, we'll leave that in. It was between Christmas and New Year, and my dad, as you know, he was a truck driver. He got the holidays off with the company that he was actually working for at the moment. It was a big deal because usually he was on the road regardless of birthdays, holidays, whatever. That's what you do. You're much like professional wrestling. You make sacrifices. You put food on the table. But for some reason, he got this week or so off and was like, "Fuck it, let's go down to Melbourne." And his friend was watching wrestling, and I remember watching Monday Night Raw with him, and that was the first full edition of Monday Night Raw I'd ever watched start to finish, and that's the one where Stone Cold Steve Austin becomes the Raw general manager, and that was awesome. And then that same week, or it might have been the week after, they did. They were watching. I was watching SmackDown, and I don't know if it was a current episode that I was watching at the time because he watched like randomly a bunch of stuff that he'd missed out on because he was a truck driver as well, my dad's friend. So we were just like watching all of this stuff. Like we watched the episode from that week, plus like 2 or 3 weeks before that as well. But yeah, and there was an episode where I was watching SmackDown, and Eddie, I believe he just started teaming with Tajiri, or was just about to. Chavo was out with injury, and he was really at the forefront of the lie, cheat, steal stuff. It was really taking off as a babyface, and he'd put a blindfold over Vicky Guerrero's face in storyline, in kayfabe, while she was sleeping. So when she woke up, she thought that she'd blind because Tajiri, I think, who was managed by, I believe it was Tori Wilson, I think at the time was his manager, and obviously Eddie, that's a mamacita. So he devises this whole fucking plan to make Vicky think that she's blind just so that he can perv on Tori Wilson.
Oh my gosh.
And, someone's going to correct me and be like, oh, it was this person. No, but I'm positive that that's what it was. But yeah, I just remember seeing this guy and thinking that this dude is charismatic as fuck.
Yep.
It's because it's kind of like almost a fever dream. Like it's a blur trying to think of it because I was only, I don't know, 10 or 11 at the time. But yeah, it was just, he had Vicky blindfolded. She thought she was blind. He was perving on Tajiri's missus, who I'm positive, I'm like 90% positive it was Tori Wilson at the time. But yeah, it's just, here's this dude, they basically, doing the comedy stuff, but it was so convincing and so well timed. Again, charisma off the charts in that aspect.
Yep.
That I was just like, this dude's great. And then you start playing the video games and, oh, this is that guy that did that. And, oh, he does the frog splash and he does this. And then you keep watching and you see, he does the fucking, the chair fake out and whatever. But yeah, it was that moment was he blindfolded Vicky. I think I've just said that like 5 or 6 times now, but I'm kind of getting like really excited as I'm trying to think of it.
You're like,
it's all just coming back.
Yeah. The nostalgia's hitting.
I'm going to have to like find that clip now after we finish recording so that I can show you.
Yeah, because I wanted to know that. I was like,
great.
What was the first match, that you saw that kind of was like...
Because I probably played as him in the video games prior to that. Because that's around the time I was playing video games with my mate Billy. And that was the first time I ever saw Rey Mysterio was in a video game.
Yeah.
And I was like, this dude is fucking mad. And then... Again, much like earlier on in life with the action figures, I'm like, this is a real guy. He's not just a created character they've come up with. What the fuck? How is he doing all this crazy stuff? And then you find out later on in life that he's had his knees done like 6 or 7 times, and he's still continued to do that stuff, and you're just like, what the fuck? But yeah, Eddie blindfolded Vicky, had her convinced she was blind. That was my earliest Eddie Guerrero memory.
I love it. Alrighty, so my next question. So, if you owned your own company, wrestling company, and you put on a memorial show for your dad, being that he was a wrestling fan too.
Which is something that is being genuinely tossed around right now.
Yeah.
May I add?
Yeah. What would your dream lineup be for that?
So when you say dream lineup, like
past and present,
because obviously, as you know, his 2 favorite wrestlers of all time were Hulk Hogan,
Hogan,
and The Undertaker.
Yep.
So what you're saying is if I could realistically, in theory, take Hulk Hogan directly out of the 80s when he was like at his peak?
Yep, you can pick whatever decade. It's just kind of like what wrestlers would you pick? What would your ultimate lineup be? Like, that, you know, it would do your dad justice and proud for the memorial show.
So in effect, like, what would I think that my dad's like dream card would like be to an extent?
Yeah, well, essentially, yeah. Like, what's yours, but what would do him justice at the same time? That'd make your dad proud at the same time.
Just based off like people that we'd watched together. Like, did you want me to like put like together like a handful of like a roster of people to be on the show, or do you want me to do a couple of like matches or
whatever you kind of feel like? Like, either way.
Because straight away, two things jump out, and that's Hogan's going to be in the main event, obviously. The question is it against Undertaker, or just to be a smart ass, do I put him against Macho Man? Because Macho Man's my dude.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
give or take. Like,
yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, actually, you know what? I'd probably have to say it. I'll do like, I'll go a 5-match card. These matches are running long, brother.
Yep. That way it doesn't go forever.
Main event.
We could talk about this for a whole fucking episode.
We got Hogan and Taker. Hogan's obviously, you know, he's going to kick out of the tombstone. He's going to hulk up. He's going to drop the leg. Taker's going to kick out of the leg drop.
Okay.
He's going to try and sit up, but Hogan's going to drop a second leg drop and he's going to pin him. Your opener, just for the sake of this, I'm going to say take Macho Man and Shawn Michaels as a tag team.
Okay.
Put them against Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio to open the show because why not? I feel like that'd be a banger. Let's have Andre the Giant versus the Big Show in the second match. For the third match, for all time's sake, let's just say here's Jake the Snake Roberts versus Ricky Steamboat. And then in the fourth match, it'd have to be Kurt Angle versus someone, because Kurt Angle was a guy that Dad was really big on as well. Like, he couldn't stand him, much like you mentioned, like in the last episode with, you know, the whole "you suck" thing and all that. Like, his character irked him, but he was always a really big fan. Maybe Kurt Angle versus Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Okay. Yep. Sweet. I could do that.
But yeah, I think the full card would be opener Eddie and Ray versus Shawn Michaels and Macho Man. Don't really care who goes over. Match number 2, I'd put Andre versus Big Show, just because he always said, every time the Big Show came on screen, he's like, did this guy ever meet Andre the Giant? I'm like, no, but his gimmick was he was Andre's son in WCW, and that, because, you know, my dad sometimes had memory loss due to the brain tumor that he'd had. Yeah. It popped in. Match number 3, I'd probably go have Jake the Snake versus Ricky Steamboat. Maybe have like, do it on, I don't know, maybe have them be plush animals because animal cruelty, but do like an on a pole match where you've got a dragon on one side and a snake on the other, and they've just got basically like a flag match, just some sort of gimmicky bullshit, you know.
Yes.
Kurt Angle versus Stone Cold, and then, as I said, main event, Taker versus Hulk Hogan. I think
sounds pretty good to me.
5 matches.
Sounds like a good lineup.
You know, all of those guys are going to run long. They're all going to be like 30-minute matches each because, you know, why not?
Why the fuck not?
But yeah, I think.
Yeah, I like it.
I think 5 matches. I think that'd do it justice. I feel.
Yep. All right. Yeah, no, that sounds pretty good to me. Sounds like a pretty good lineup.
Don't even get me started on like realistic ones of people that, you know, he did watch in ICW and stuff like that, because there was a few people like he absolutely adored the fuck, you know, out of Nick Martino just because of his fucking humor, and Reverend Diaz as well. Even though he beat the shit out of me, he was a fan of him because, you know, and then, you know, Hellfire because he was my mate, he liked him, but there's so many wrestlers that I could do, but because, as I said, that is something we have genuinely tossed around. Like, I want to run shows eventually. And hopefully, if I get to do one in Goulburn, I could do one, you know, for Dad.
Yeah, well, that's why I thought, you know, that's a cool question to bring up.
Like, I've got a list of imaginary show names, if it ever happens, and then I've got a list in its own right of just tribute shows for Dad's name. But that's a good question. I had to think about that for a second.
Yeah, I kind of would have thrown you off a bit.
But I think, I think 5 matches... They're the ones I go, I think.
Yep. Sweet. Alrighty. So, moving on. My next question is, Who are some famous wrestlers that you've met, and who are some that you'd like to meet?
See, I've met like a pretty decent handful of them now that I'm probably going to forget some of them. But
Yeah,
the
that's okay.
first one I ever met was old Jake the Snake, and I remember my old man being very jealous, and I'm like, well,
So cool.
you could have come. He's like, I didn't want to go super over that nerdy shit. I'm like, sorry. He's like, would you want me to dress as Spider-Man or something? Or I'm like, why the fuck not?
I literally could picture your dad doing
My
that
dad
too.
being like the fat Spider-Man from the meme.
And he's doing like these ones, like,
But yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm not going
Yep.
to that nerdy shit. I'm like, yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I met Jake the Snake at Supernova, first ever,
pretty cool.
famous wrestler
Yep.
that I'd met. That was awesome. And then because of the World Series events, I've had been able to meet quite a handful of people. Like I literally ran into X-Pac on the escalator. I almost sent him
that's so
flying
cool.
down the escalator, and I was like, I am so sorry. And he's like, no, man. He's like, that's my fault. I wasn't watching where I was going. And I'm like, yeah, it's all good. almost knocked him flying. And then the Headbangers randomly, a lot of Attitude Era fans remember
Yeah.
them. They were a kind of comedy tag team, and they were still featured, fairly prominently on Monday Night Raw and the pay-per-views. They were at the first one that I went to, and I'm like, of all like the people I could have met, like what the fuck, like the Headbangers.
random.
And then there's X-Pac there as well, and then Brian Cage. I've gone and bought merch of
Yeah.
him every single time I've been to a World Series event, just because I'm a massive mark for him. John Morrison, who's my favorite wrestler alive, obviously never got a chance to meet Eddie or Macho, but I got to meet him and I lost my fucking mind. Met Ricochet, super, super cool dude.
Yep.
Met Cody Rhodes,
Yep.
probably the nicest wrestler I've met
Okay.
out of
Yep.
everyone. I did meet Joey Ryan, which was a big deal for me at the time, unfortunately.
Controversy and
It
shit.
is what it is. Marty Skrull's another one that's had a bit of controversy. He was fucking awesome to meet. Smells really nice too. Completely off topic, but
That is so bad.
like whatever aftershave he uses was like, I want some of that. But I met Austin Aries, who wasn't in gimmick. He was meant to be a babyface on the show. A lot of people say, oh, he was just in character. No, he was meant to be a babyface, but he was just
Bit of a
fuckwit.
dick.
He was just like, he thought he was thought he was better than what he was, basically.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I've met Flip Gordon. He's a pretty cool dude.
Okay. Yep.
Pentagon and Phoenix. I met Abyss, and that was when he actually
cool.
officially retired from in-ring competition. Was that match? That was his last match
Oh,
on the
wow.
Indies
That's cool.
at all. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think he had any in the US. Almost positive that was his
Yeah.
last match at all before
Wow.
he went to the WWE to do a producer. I met Walter.
Oh, Walter. Yes.
Fucking massive.
Yep. He's a big fuck off looking
Brody King as well. I was just like, hey man. Like there's a few
Yeah.
more, like Joey Janela. As I said, there's probably a few
few.
more. Chavo Guerrero, I think,
Yeah.
stands out the most. Like there
I
was
remember
that,
you
like,
telling me this story.
there's the
I'm like,
House of Hardcore show where I
so
met like
sick.
Carlito, and MVP was fucking awesome. I wish I had have had the money to buy stuff from him. Colt Cabana, Billy Gunn, he told me to don't shit the bed. That's a
Yeah.
famous story when I asked for advice. Tommy Dreamer. Met the Young Bucks 3 times, and they actually remembered me. I thought Matt was just kind of saying that as kind of like a work the people sort of thing, but they've revealed Nick's like, no, Matt actually has like it's like the photographic memory, as they say, but it's
eidetic,
like
yeah.
he literally remembers almost every
wow,
face. Like
that's
he's just,
so cool.
but
love
yeah,
that.
I think
Yeah.
I've forgotten who I've mentioned now, but Chavo Guerrero.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to go back to.
Was
The story you told me.
the best one, because
about
like I
him.
didn't have I did pay to meet him
Yeah.
before the show, but I didn't have the actual VIP one where I got to meet everyone. But he's walking down the hall to go into the room. I guess kind of out of the corner of his eye, he must have just realized that I was wearing the Eddie shirt. And I have told this story on the pod before. I told it with Mark
love
Kelly
it.
and Nick Martino.
Yeah.
But he's literally stopped and he's like, hey. I'm like, yeah, he pointed at my shirt, and he's a very religious, spiritual person.
Yeah.
And he's pointing to the sky, and like he's literally like, thank you, brother.
makes me so
Thank you.
emotional
And
every
he's
time
like
you tell me
tearing
that.
up, and I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck. I'm just like, and then afterwards, telling him that, when I actually went to the merch table
Yeah.
and bought his shirt and telling him that Eddie's my hero and blah, blah, blah. And that's when he gave me the advice of stick to the basics, you flippy-do little fucks. But yeah, I think Chavo stands out, and then Jake as well, just because he was you never forget your first. Jake the Snake was my first ever famous wrestler, and just what he meant to me, and the bonding period of me and my dad, because anyone that knows me personally, like, we didn't have, the best relationship. It was very rocky. My parents' relationship, it wasn't a very healthy relationship. It is what it is. Yeah. But the one thing that always bound us was professional wrestling. So when, he's telling me about Macho Man Randy Savage, and I'm like, there's no way a guy actually sounds like this. And turns out he actually does. That's his real voice. And then he turns it up and then tells me the story about, I remember like, we used to drive down used to go in the truck with him. And I remember driving down the Hay Plains, specifically. I can picture it in my fucking head, plain as day. And he's telling me, he's like, you ever watch any old Jake the Snake? And I'm like, yeah, I've got a couple of DVDs with him on it. What about Ricky Steamboat? Fuck it, I've got a 3-disc set of Ricky Steamboat at home. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but what I've seen of him, I love him. Like, because at that point, I'd already seen the Steamboat Savage match at Mania, God knows how many fucking times. But he's like, you ever see when old Jake the Snake pulled out the python, but Ricky Steamboat, he had the goanna, and the snake shat itself and curled up into a ball? I'm like, again, what I just mentioned earlier on.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck kind of wrestling are you watching? But going back and watching that, and then all of a sudden, fast forward a couple years later, and Jake the Snake has his arm around me, and just being like,
so cool.
This, like,
love it.
This is the shit that, like, my old man watched, and I am lucky enough that he's just been sober. He's been through all of this shit. He almost died. DDP got him straight, and here I am, lucky enough. Just, I didn't get to go to the Q&A that he did, unfortunately, because my sister and I, we had to quickly get back on the train to make it home, but just having, a couple of, minutes to just talk to him and be like, hey, it's good to see you. It's good to see that you're doing well, and him being, you can tell that he's truly, grateful to just be where he is, and he's cracking jokes, and it's just fucking awesome to kind of look back at. And I just got
so cool. It's a cool
I just got really
cool
sentimental
memory.
there because it comes back to my dad, and I think subconsciously as well that's been another reason why wrestling stuck out to me, because that was always a thing that he and I, we could have a big blow up, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, so what's going on with wrestling? And it's like, John Cena's the champion again. Fuck that guy. And then, now I look at it, I'm like, nah, John Cena's still my dude. The internet told me I should hate him when I was 16, but nah, I'm like, he's still my dude.
So yeah, another part to that question was like, who are just like even just a couple that you'd like to actually meet? Wrestlers
that I'd like to meet?
Yeah.
Obviously I don't have a time machine, but being able to go back and meet Eddie and Macho Man, even though Eddie's my hero, Macho Man probably even more, just because I feel like it'd just be such a spectacle to talk to the Macho Man and, oh yeah, you want me to sign that for you? What's your name? Yeah, dig it. Like, do you have an off switch, bro? Like,
yeah. He's always on.
Someone that I'd love to meet, and this is just on many levels, Chris Jericho, I'll go back to again.
Yep.
I mentioned, he's kind of just on the outside of the top 5. But Fozzy, a lot of people say, oh, they're just, that wrestlers band, but they've really come into their own over the years, and they're one of probably my all-time favorite bands still. Like, Citizen Soldier have really fucking come out to me.
I mean, if you listen to the podcast, you'd know.
But in the last 2 years, like, they've really come up, and I'm like,
no, they're good.
Like, they may be a small-time band, but they're up there, like, as one of my all-time favorites. You got me into them,
yeah.
But Fozzy, still, probably just by a fraction, still my favorite band of all time. So the fact that Jericho being one of my favorite wrestlers, and then, lead singer of my band, and, wrestling and music, hand in hand all day, every day.
Yep.
Jericho, 100% one of those guys. The Undertaker, as I say, in my opinion, for you factor in everything, just, they're not professional wrestlers, they're superstars, right? As Edge is another one. Superstar. No, but, like, in terms of WWE specifically, like, a lot of people, as I said, they say Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair. In terms of WWE specifically, I will die on the hill that The Undertaker is the greatest WWE superstar of all time.
Yep.
And just getting like 5 minutes to be able to be
pick
like,
his brain. Yep.
hey, like, you know, what's going on? And the Hardy Boys. The Hardy Boys, you're wearing and you're wearing a Hardy Boys shirt as I say that. That's not why I say it, but Matt Hardy was meant to be at that House of Hardcore tour that I went to. The first poster that was revealed was a sole poster of Matt Hardy, but eventually, you know, Matt and Jeff go back to WWE and fuck my life. Because, you know, like, I love Jeff, but Matt's always been my guy as well. But to meet both of them together would be awesome. Like, I could go on for days, like Rey Mysterio, but yeah, I think the two that really stand out, as I said, if I could go back in time, somehow meet Macho Man, and obviously, as I said, Eddie's my hero, just to meet him would be cool. But the two really, Macho Man and Taker.
Yes.
But even Hulk, right? Like, yeah, okay, we talk about Terry, you know, he's been a bit of a shit human being over the years, but to meet Hulk Hogan and just be like, look, I'll be honest with you right now, Macho Man was my guy. But it's because of you, and almost solely because of you, that despite anything and everything that had happened over the years, that my dad and I were able to connect.
Yeah.
So, and I know that probably sounds really fucking stupid.
No,
maybe,
not to me. No, I can see
like,
that.
I just to meet Hulk Hogan and be like, thank you.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Yeah. Going back to what you wanted to be like as a wrestler, like to be able to do someone like, I know you're not on that caliber, but it's like just a dad and a son that are struggling like with their relationship to just go and watch an ICW show and just bond for like 10 minutes.
I've had that happen, and even when I went up north, there was that boy with he had autism. He was wearing his headphones.
Yeah.
For some reason, whatever I did to him, he was a bit shy at first, and then I walked away. Like 5 seconds later, something happened, and he like literally ran over to me.
Aww.
And I told you the story. Like, there's the photo that I took with him and stuff.
I just get emotional.
And to know that, you know, without my dad connecting to Hulk Hogan when he was a kid, by association, how do I know that never happens?
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, like, it's my, like, shout out to my sister. She's got autism. She sometimes listens to this podcast, so hey. But yeah, like, it's very hard to connect with someone with autism. For you to be able to do that, that's amazing. It's really cool.
Yeah, well, my brother is as well, but like, I didn't even do anything special by my standards. I was just talking to him. I was just saying, hey, dude, like, you know, what's happening?
Yeah.
And then, like, and as I say, like, I think, so I think if I had to narrow it down to 3, although Eddie is my hero, I'd say Macho Man, just because of the spectacle.
Yep.
Taker, because I truly do believe that, at least within the terms of just WWF/E, even WCW, if you wanted to include that because they own the library, I think he is truly the greatest of all time. And then, as I said, Hulk Hogan, because
that's cool.
By association,
had
Hulk Hogan not be a thing, how do I know that I'm not standing here, you know, sitting here recording a podcast about professional wrestling?
Yeah.
And maybe, you know, that's a lot of coulda, shoulda, woulda, what ifs, but
yeah, that's true.
I think we should move on, otherwise I'm going to start getting emotional.
Okay, cool. So now I'm going to go into our little, like, bonus questions, if you will. So Atticus Slane, aka Shane, wanted to know, what would our tag team finisher be if me and you were a tag team?
Tag team finisher.
I wouldn't mind like an assisted like brain buster.
There's a couple
like,
actually
that'd be cool.
That stand out from various things. Like judging by what my actual moveset is and stuff that you said would be your moveset, like having you hit a spear while I claymore the dude at the same time would be cool. Yeah. A discus clothesline while you hit a spear, like the timing would be fucking insane to try and practice. Even a double spear. You know, me and you could do a double choke slam and shout out to my boo. Like, who knows? Like, but what'd you say? An assisted brainbuster?
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not very athletic, but I don't know what it would take as such.
I mean,
But
have Mrs. Crossfire like get that moment where she actually lifts the dude up, like you could be like almost like Charlie Evans, right, when she faces Joel and she just fucking tosses him around.
badass.
Like, having you hoist the dude up for the brainbuster and having me do like what Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish do and this throw the roundhouse or the super kick or even doing the Claymore, but with my left foot, right? Or maybe you could do a Mexican-style brainbuster where you lift them up from the right-hand side so I can just come in and Claymore them and, you drop them, something like that.
Cool. Yeah. Because I was like, I like brainbusters. Like, how would we do this? Like,
you could even... Blake and Murphy, you drop them with the brainbuster, I do the frog splash. It's in the video games. We can
we can do that.
We can't assign it because there's mixed tag finishes because you get DQ'd if you hit women in the WWE games because they don't give a fuck about intergender wrestling because, sponsors and it looks bad and promotes domestic violence and fuck you. Yeah. It is an art form.
Yeah, it's an
you
art
don't
form.
have to like it, but all I'm saying is, can you at least try and understand it?
Yeah.
But I think that's what I'm gonna set my final answer. The brain it's not really a double move because it's consecutive moves. But Mrs. Crossfire drops the brainbuster. I come off the top with the froggy. We're golden.
That's the shit.
And this is the second part of the question. This is part of the question that I have seen.
Yeah.
You might actually have to break the rules here and, well, maybe not help, but I'm curious to hear your answer. So go ahead and ask the question.
Now we're taking a little break away. So we're going a bit off topic, I should say. So Atticus Slane, also known as Shane, has also, a little shout out there, again, has asked, what... Sorry, I'm going to find my question.
It was something to do with
the best.
The positivity of the wedding and the COVID, but I can't remember the exact wording.
What's the best thing about planning / having a COVID wedding?
See, and I like that he said this because he sent me in a message and he's like, obviously there's a lot of disadvantages, but he wanted to know, is there any positives? And as bad as it may sound, and I know I have family and friends that they listen to this just out of pure support, not necessarily for the wrestling content, but the fact that we did have the scale numbers down did work to an extent because before COVID came around, we said we wanted about 150 people. So already we've had to cut out, cousins because both of us...
Big families.
Even it's not even extended families. Our immediate families, when it goes into the cousins and the uncles and aunts and all that, there's a lot of people, right? So even with 150, when we originally put our very first list together, we struggled to balance family and wrestling life, and in the end there we had a pretty good list. And if we could have it in a perfect way, would I have loved to have had it that way? Sure, but at the same time, I did save money to an extent, so I feel like that is a positive.
We saved a lot.
Like we've said, before we answer the question, we've said that we want to have a vow renewal in like 10 years' time.
Yeah.
More realistic, I'm aiming for 5, just because you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen in life. People may not be around. Anything can happen. But I think the positive was that we were forced, in a way, to make it smaller, because I know that we didn't want a big grand wedding by any means to begin with, but everything that we've both been through in our respective lives and losing out both of our dads and yada yada yada, it's like we wanted to get married, right? And it's like you've got cousins, especially on my mum's side, that's where the extended family comes in. There's cousins who I love and I get along with, but it's like I speak to you once every 10 years.
Yeah.
With all due respect, why does that warrant you being invited to my wedding, sort of thing?
And that's kind
So I think having to scale down.
And that's what I kind of look at too. Like, for us, like, getting married and stuff early into our relationship, a lot of people go years before they get married and stuff. For us, we knew straight away that, we wanted to get married.
Yeah, well, we've just gone, was it?
Just over 3.
Just over 3 years. I almost said 4, but no, it was 2019. COVID's fucked me up for my... I had to actually think about what year it was, but so just over 3 years now.
Just over 3 now, and it's kind of like people are kind of like,
oh, for 6
yeah,
months.
We'd been going out for 3 months. We moved in together, like that's our time frame.
I proposed, 9 months in, almost
9 months
exactly,
in.
like...
Yeah. So it's kind of like it seemed like it moved fast. And we look at it, it's like there was people that wanted to be invited, but they weren't that supportive in the start. I mean, if we have a renewal later down the track, we can see who's really there for us. Like, we're both going through medical shit right now. Who's there? You know what I mean?
That might sound petty to some, but, like, it's okay to give advice, like, like, oh, I don't think, you should move that fast. That's fair enough. But when we had a lot of, family members kind of harp on that. And I'm like, well, look,
it was pretty
I've got to cut 150 people down to 100. Fuck. So we do that.
Yeah.
And then, like, as we say, like, we want to have a vow renewal because I lost my own best man. Like, I had to cut James Hellfire out completely. Atticus Slane, who asked this question, him and his little family, they were all invited because we're close to them, and not being able to have them there, that fucking shattered us having to send that message and be like, and sorry, but
this is going into a negative, but my brother couldn't get vaxxed in time, so my brother missed out. My other brother missed out. My younger brother and my older brother. My younger brother's in Melbourne, so he was in lockdown, so he couldn't come. So,
how stupid is that? Like,
there's a lot of negatives.
It's an outdoor wedding, but you still have to be vaccinated. Like,
yeah, I can understand. At the time, it was so strict.
But yeah, positives in a way. Cutting down numbers
was both
in an extent. I feel, given the circumstances, I'd say a positive because it's like, hey, look, you've got 25, 30 people. It ended up going up to,
I think it was like 25. We wanted 30 and then some people couldn't come, so it went down to about 25.
Yeah, I think the actual list, we had 35, 40.
Yeah.
And that was with people already saying beforehand that they weren't coming to the actual reception indoors anyway. So that was kind of like, okay, so we can have X amount of people outside.
Yeah. Like, there was bummers where it's like I felt like the reception, it could have went longer because I wanted, to celebrate a bit more, but...
Yeah, the reception, I feel, is the main thing that lacked because of it, but in terms of the actual ceremony, the positive is that because we had it was just immediate family, we were able to just express our love, show our love. I don't know how to word that, but just as I said, like, we've had all this stuff happen, and it's like, no, look, if you do this now, you're married. And at the end of the day, I said this in my vows, I used to joke about it being a piece of paper. And then I met Mrs. Crossfire, and I've never wanted a piece of paper more in my life. Like, I think, like, I don't know if that fully answers Atticus's question, but I think, in a way, given the circumstances and the time frame we were with everything we've been going through, I think the fact that we had no choice but to cut down may have been a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, like, we saved money. Like, it was great because we cut back, like, on people and stuff, and it wasn't having to go through the awkward situation of, sorry, we can't invite you. Like, there was those kind of things.
Because we've both got that many cousins as well that it's like, if you invite one cousin, you've got to invite this one, and this one, and this one. So it's like,
And then it's kind of like, so it's like some of my nan's, like, my nan's got, like, all up, counting her, there's 8 kids, so then there's lots of cousins and stuff there too, so it's like pretty big. And then it's like, it's like huge families, so it's kind of like, but yeah, that's probably the main positives. Like, there was, I guess, like, it was kind of good too because it was super intimate and things like that. That was nice. Yeah, like, there's things that
it was in a way, it was actually, in the end, it ended up being easier to find the venue that we wanted as well. Yeah. And, like, the vehicles and decorations and stuff, because people had been postponing, and they're postponing 6 months, a year, whatever, in advance. So the time slot where we got married, the place we actually hired the car from, we were one of the first people to get back in with them because they just, they'd lost all of their business and stuff. So I think being able to help out businesses and stuff like that, and then again with the reception, I'd view as a positive.
Yeah, because if you look at that, too, because, when you're looking at the planning of it all, it was a lot easier.
Because the original place we wanted, and then we ended up getting the venue we wanted, and we didn't get the room in the venue we wanted, which was kind of sad, but we had great service. We were nice and, secluded, and we were just doing our own thing, and that I appreciated. As you say, I wish we would have had, for that portion, been able to have more of our family and friends, like, having a couple of beers with Atticus and James Hellfire and Nick Maltino and Mrs. Maltino, who were part of, both of our wedding parties, respectively, in the original planning.
Yeah.
That all went to shit. But, I think, to an extent, the actual ceremony, given health and whatever else, especially, my grandfather, it's no secret to people that do know me personally, he's not in the best health right now. He couldn't be there, but just having him be able to see it live via video chat, thanks to the day and age we're in, that still meant a lot to me, that he would still be able to be around. And hopefully he manages to stay strong, and when we have the vow renewal in 5 years or whatever, he can be there. But
that's some of the other reasons too. Like, we could have waited, but it was like, I just found out I had health issues. Bub's, like, sight was declining, like, John's sight was declining and stuff, so that was getting stressful because I was like, shit, he's not going to be able to see me.
Yeah, like, how did I know that if we postpone it in 6 months or whatever...
You could lose your sight. I could lose my sight.
I'm not going to be able to see my wife walk down the aisle, and she was a blurry dot as it was for the most part anyway.
And it was then, like, the medical condition that I've got, it's IIH, so it's fluid on the brain, so it can actually cut off the optic nerve, so then I won't be able to see either. So then that's another thing. And then it's like my nan and pop have been sick as well, like where they're going to pass and miss it. And I really wanted them to be there because I didn't have dad there. And it's the same with you. Like, your pop hasn't been good and your dad's passed. So it's like the urgency was there. And that's why another reason why we wanted to do it.
I think long answer short, and I feel like you, Mrs. Crossfire, would be in agreement with this, is we can sit there and be like, I wish we could have had this and I wish we could have had that. And as I say, like 100% down the line, we are going to have some sort of hoorah with friends and just pump the tunes, a lot of fucking redneck tunes, because why not? That's who I am. My friends and family just have to deal with it. Have a couple of drinks. But at the end of the day, the positive is that we were able to do it at all.
Yeah, like, that's it. Yeah.
I have a wife. I didn't think I'd ever, have someone that understood the business or, whatever. But now, not only that, I'm bouncing ideas and stuff off her. And
I'm interviewing you right now.
Exactly, but... I feel like we answered that. It was a bit of a rant. It was long-winded. I apologize, Shane.
There was a lot of emotion there.
You know the type of person that I am. Yeah. You know what you're getting yourself into when you ask that question. But I feel like we should move on from that one.
Okay, so I hope this doesn't go on too long because I have a few. I've got a few non-wrestling related questions. So usually,
that's fine.
Usually question number 5 because I've chucked in a few more wrestling ones than what you usually have.
So you're gonna go to them and then transition into number 5.
So number 5 was like the non-wrestling related question. Yeah. So then it's coming in now. So there's actually a couple of them. Is that cool?
Oh,
we've got time for that?
Yep.
That's fine. Because I don't want to go too much. I've been talking too much and rambling a bit. But, all right. Okay, so the number 1 non-wrestling related question is, what would your superpower be?
Regeneration.
That was a quick, easy one. That was
100%.
Really, what made you think of that so fast?
This is something that I've thought about for so long because obviously being a blind fuck.
Yes, yep.
I look at Wolverine and my skin is disgusting. Like I suffer with eczema. That's another thing I've been bullied as of a child. Obviously it's not that bad as an adult, but still gets annoying. I've got cuts on my arm right now, and despite the fact that I haven't trimmed my nail, I've still managed to slice myself open in my sleep. So just being able to just heal myself and in theory have eyesight would be great. Invisibility would be another one.
That's pretty cool.
Mainly because I'm a depressed fuck, and like seriously, as a kid, I used to just wish to be invisible. But that's why I know this, because this is stuff that I've thought about in the past. Like I just want to disappear, but no, regeneration 100%. Like to be able to fly would be awesome. Like I've got to go to work. Yeah, cool. If I fly, it'll take me like 10 minutes. It's fine. Let's go. Like.
It still weirds you out that I kind of have regeneration and
Mrs. Crossfire, when she gets a cut or a bruise, just heals
rapidly.
She literally is Wolverine. Really, it's fucked up.
They're gonna start testing on me now. We've said it publicly.
It's fucked up. But yeah, regeneration will go.
Love it. Alrighty.
Although being able to swing like Spider-Man would be kind of cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it kind of hit me, and I'm like, well, you know how much Spider-Man's my dude.
Yeah, he's your dude.
But no, regeneration will go with, what's the next question?
Alrighty, so the next one is, what is your favourite TV show or movie that you like to watch after a hard day? Not wrestling related.
I mean, at the moment, we've been binging the fuck out of Storage Wars.
This is true.
Yep.
Yup.
No, I mean, how many times, not necessarily to watch, but how many times, of a night time have I opened up Disney Plus to go to sleep and I've put Cars on in the background?
Yes, Cars.
Like,
Yes.
my favorite movie of all time is Aladdin. And I've put that on a few times, but there's just something about Cars. Like, it's probably my second favorite movie. I think, I don't know, it kind of depends on my mood. I think because of, like, the romance with Aladdin and Jasmine. And I'm just a cheesy bastard. I think that's why it wins out. But having Cars or Shrek.
Yep.
Like, I would watch them every day for the rest of my life, and I would not get bored.
Yeah, well, the reason I asked this question is because there was a girl from work the other day, and she had, like, a really shitty day, and she was, like, mad from, like, frustrated from, like, work. I was like, I'm going home to watch Toy Story. I'm like, fuck, that sounds good.
That was actually one that I put on, like, last week.
I got over and I was like, that's funny.
I watched Toy Story 1, 2, and 3. I did not watch 4. Fuck that movie.
Fuck 4.
But 3 nights in a row, I fell asleep to Toy Story, and then 2 and 3, the nights
Even
following,
3,
respectively.
like, 3's not as bad as 4, but I still get so fucking emotional. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, no.
Let me know, you guys. Like, comment below on Podbean or send me a message on social media if you're listening on Google Podcast or Spotify. But what did you think about Toy Story 4? Because as me and Mrs. Crossfire just said, fuck that movie, fuck that ending. They said that was going to be the last one. Now they're making a 5th one. If they make a 5th one, they better fix that ending. I swear to God.
I swear. Like, I used to work for Cotton On Kids, and they'd put that movie on all the time, and I'm like, this is torture, like the trauma, my childhood trauma, and you're putting this on, like,
although,
why?
I will say, shout out to your mum, Mrs. Crossfire.
My mum.
Duke Kaboom, Toy Story 4.
Yes.
Fucking awesome character. I
Yes.
need more Duke Kaboom in my life.
Yes, because mum was a massive, I can't think of his name.
Evil Knievel.
Yeah, Evil Knievel.
Which
my
is
brain
who the
is
character's
just,
based
yes,
off.
Evil Knievel, yes. I was like, demon. I don't know, my brain's not working. I've been talking for too long.
I think, either Cars or Shrek, probably Cars. Because,
Love it.
as you know, I can quote it literally word for word.
Yeah,
Because
Shrek's the same.
Mac, I ain't no Mac. I'm a Peterbilt for dang sake. Turn on your lights, you moron. I can remember specifically one time I was staying at Andrew's house and his dad was watching it and he literally rewinded that scene 20 times because he was also a truck driver. And I remember I've talked to you about it. My dad, same fucking thing.
My dad too. Truckies.
Every time. But yeah, so far, my superpower, regeneration, go-to movie, Cars. I think they're the two you just asked, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, we'll get back on track.
Cool.
I'm sorry. You know I rant.
Alrighty. What is your biggest weakness?
Whew.
Like, I know you got eyesight issues, but that's not it. Like, what's your biggest weakness? You've probably told me before, but...
I mean, I feel like my biggest weakness... I don't know, there's two depending on how you look at it. On one hand, sometimes I can be too trusting.
Yep.
But sometimes that can be a good thing.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, and this is one that you're very familiar with, at times I can be very fucking stubborn and hot-headed.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that has also proven due to stuff I've been through in my life, and much like you as well.
Exactly.
Because you are also very stubborn and obnoxious in your own right.
Independent woman, yeah.
But sometimes it can be weakness. It's also, it's interchangeable. It's also my biggest strength to an extent. But I think my biggest weakness is I'm probably too trusting.
Yep.
And look at where that's gotten me in certain predicaments in wrestling.
Yeah. And I've called you out on it. Because I was like, sit back, have a think about it. Yeah.
Moving on.
But yeah, I wanted to bring that on because I was like, that's something that's
for the questions, I didn't know what they were. I feel like I'm doing a pretty
really
good
well.
job.
I'm kind of doing it like a bit of a speed round, so I've got quite a few.
Well, I was like, super regeneration, and you were like, what?
What? That was really fast.
Sorry,
this is like a game show. Ding! Regeneration.
$1 million. All right, let's go. What's the next question?
What is your favorite food? Is it spag bowl?
Okay, so
I can't remember. Like, I think it's spag bowl.
So my favorite food group, or like genre of food, I guess, or cuisine is Mexican as a whole.
Yeah.
But if I had to pinpoint one favorite food, it's spaghetti bolognese because it's quick, it's easy, and you can do an infinite amount of things with it at the same time. Yep. Like, as we record this, we had spaghetti bolognese last night. I literally just kind of went, fuck it, like, grabbed some of the usual ingredients, but as I'm putting the sauce in, I'm like, I'll add a bit of this, I'll add a bit of that. And it's one of the best ones I've made in a while.
Yeah, like you can make Mexican ones. I want to try that.
I've made a Mexican spag bowl with a Mexican cooking oil.
Oh.
Fucking
Ooh,
beautiful.
Right, you're saying you wanted to try and find that
beautiful.
Cooking.
I don't know what the brand was.
Yeah.
It was gifted to me for Christmas, but it was amazing.
Yeah.
Moving on, because now you're going to make me hungry, and we've already had lunch. I actually had the leftovers of that for lunch today as we record this.
Like I wanted to like kind of like know that question because I'm like, I swear it's spag bowl or like Mexican, but I'm like, even like still, I'm like, the viewers don't know, so I'm gonna ask anyway. Alrighty, so the next one is, what is your love language?
Man, it's got to be like humor, right? To an extent.
This is true.
I feel like
This is true.
I've become that dude that will either not spend any time on social media or I'll just fire off like 100 memes at once and everyone's like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that kind of like attracted me to you as well as your humor. Because it's kind of like, I look back when I was younger and like people that I've had crushes on, it's like Adam Sandler and people like that. I'm like, well, they're funny. So it's like, it makes sense. Because when I was really little, I was obsessed with Adam Sandler. I watched all of his movies, anything that come out. It was like, this is the shit, you know?
I think humor, yeah, because like
yeah, I can see that. And you send me memes when I'm sad.
I would 100% die on the hill that my jokes are funnier than yours. But the fact that you find my jokes funny, I'm like, hey, come over here.
Not now, maybe later. Little bit of romance.
It's actually the more you know sound, but
yeah,
I think it kind of doubles as both. I love this soundboard. I love doing these episodes with you because, like, I literally
you get to use
the
it.
moment you said that fucking thing, I was just like, but I was gonna say it, and then I'm like, oh wait, I have a button for that. Moving on.
Alrighty, so the next one is, what's your weirdest habit/quirk?
Weirdest habit.
Yeah. I think this might actually
Could you give me some
yeah.
examples? Because I don't know like where.
Like habit, quirk, like what's something quirky about you that's like, it's a bit weird. Like you feel like it's a bit weird, it's a bit different. And something like the viewers don't really know.
Because in terms of like, because when you say habit, I think of like things that I do. But I can't think.
Or something that's quirky about you. Like it can be habit or quirk or.
I know that like a lot of these episodes came really Citizen Soldier heavy when I do the Song of the Week, but I feel like my music taste
it's pretty quirky.
Probably quirky. And if you were to listen to all episodes from start to finish, there's a sprinkle of that because I'm like, let me go with this country song. Like, I put my music on shuffle and I'm listening to fucking Slipknot or Stone Sour or something like that. They both popped into my head because they're both Corey Taylor. And then it will literally go on shuffle. And I will go to like Guy Sebastian or Shannon Knoll to like Luke Bryan, back to like fucking Five Finger Death Punch. And then I'll go to like a Slim Dusty song that I used to listen to with my dad or something. Like it's just, I have one giant playlist of like 10,000 songs.
Yeah.
And I just hit shuffle.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the weirdest thing about me, maybe.
Because like, I'm trying to think of like an example. One of the examples
if I could get your, sorry to cut you off, if I could get your answer to that, what do you think is the most quirky thing about me?
Oh shit!
Because for you, like mine is your personality, but what I mean with that is you're very much like me. You're I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm gothic or emo or anything, but you're kind of a goth chick to an extent.
Yeah,
but then you listen to a bit of metal and stuff, which is another reason actually, humor is a big thing, but I think music, for love language as well, humor and music, but that to me, like that's very much like your personality, like you're very upfront about like one day you'll be wearing like a sundress with your sunflowers, and the next day you've got your band tees and your fucking ripped jeans, and you pull off both looks convincingly. Yeah. So for me, I'm like, that's quirky, and you can see that about you.
Yeah, I have alter egos.
Whereas I'm just like, I wear every day. I wear jeans. It doesn't matter whether they're blue jeans, black jeans, whatever. And I'll throw on a
Yeah.
t-shirt. It might be a wrestling shirt, a band tee, or some sort of, pop culture, like, probably a Spider-Man tee or a Power Rangers tee, which I recently just threw out because it was too small. But it's not really up front with me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I can't think
I
of
used to have
anything-
to. I used to always match my shirts, shoes, and sunglasses. But unfortunately, since moving in here, 3 years ago, my sunnies, I still don't know where they all are,
Yeah.
and I know where my shoes are, but I currently can't get to them.
Yeah, no, we all have
Like, I
there's
don't know,
three of us in this house. So it's like everything's all blending and
an
it's like
old little,
shit
like,
everywhere.
50s style townhouse that was built in the 80s. But yeah, I don't know. I think the only thing I can think that's quirky about myself is my music taste. I don't know. Is there any habits or anything that
No, really, I can
personality
think of.
traits?
It's just like I think about something about myself, and it's like I eat cucumbers like the apples with the skin on and stuff. And like I went to a job interview, and they like asked me a question, and like the guy that was interviewing me was like, "What's something quirky about you?" For example, I eat oranges with the skin still on. I'm like, I do that with cucumbers. Like that's something weird and quirky that I do. But I was like, what's something weird and quirky that you do? But I can't think of anything
I
at the top
like
of my
raw
head.
noodles.
I like raw noodles too, though. So that's not maybe
Like
we're
the
just
Maggi
weird.
the Maggi packets.
Yes.
Like,
Sometimes just
when
sprinkle
I
a
was
little
like-
bit of like the seasoning on top.
Yeah. I used to dip it in the Macca's
Yeah.
sweet and sour sauce.
I haven't done that. That's a little,
When I was like
little
13,
crazy.
14, that
No.
was my go-to snack. I'd wake up
Yeah.
at like 3 a.m., crush up some noodles.
But that was usually
I wouldn't use the seasoning if I was using the sauce,
Yeah, 'cause
just to
that'd be
point that
weird.
out, because
Yeah, that'd be
it's
weird.
gross and counteractive. But
yeah.
dipping raw like noodles into sweet and sour sauce is
Yeah.
amazing. But I don't know if that counts as quirky. That's
I don't know,
just
'cause we used to not really have much
dipping
money.
my Macca's fries into my ice cream. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of become the norm.
Like we didn't have really much money in our household, but we had lots of noodles and things around, so that's something that we just did. So it's like maybe that's the same. I don't know. Maybe that's the same with like your household, but that's what we used to
We
do.
were kind of middle class.
And
Like
then-
we weren't.
Yeah.
Like we didn't go without, but we also weren't spoiled. Like we knew that no meant no to an extent. But
Yeah.
yeah. We'll move on if that's all right, because the only thing I can think about is my music taste. But is there
Yeah.
anything that you can think of off the top of your head that you describe as quirky?
Not really.
'Cause, like, I don't
It's
know if
just
I really
mainly-
have
It's
habits.
really just your music taste. Because, like, one minute you can go from Slipknot and the next you're like, red country
'Cause I have,
bumpkin,
like, little-
got some Slim Dusty up in this bitch.
like-
Like, you know.
Outbursts of weirdness, and they're in little things that I'm constantly
It's
doing them.
hard.
That's mainly just because I'm ADHD as fuck.
It's hard, though, because people see that as weird, but, like, I do the same shit, so I can't
Like, I'll
find
just
that as
do like
weird
my
because
little.
I'm the same.
I'll be like doing something around the house, and I'll just be doing a little dance because why? Because my brain's telling me to. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
no,
I
I
think
get that too.
I'll die on the hill. I'll say my music.
Yeah.
That's probably the most
Yeah.
quirky thing that I can think of.
Cool. Well, that is all my questions. That was, like, my last question, so. Yeah.
A lot of ranting there. We're
Yeah.
an hour 40 as I record this. Obviously, it'll be a
not
little
bad.
bit less because I need to edit out the dead space of me running to go get my package earlier on. But is that
Yeah, I think that's pretty much
are
it.
you handing over control?
Never. I'm a woman.
I don't know why I did that at the start of the show with like the spooky sound of like you're in control, but now it's just a gag for this episode. I
The
guess
guy gets like dun 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 dun.
it's gonna be like on the tag time this week. Mrs. Crossfire is in control.
You know why? Because I'm a little bit. Because I'm a little bit spooky. Dun, dun, dun.
So you ready for me to hand this
Yeah.
over, and I'll hit the match of the week, and
Here
then
you
we'll
go.
do this quick little watch along. The match goes for about 17 minutes. I think it's 20 minutes all up with like the promo package and stuff, but it'll be about a 2-hour episode when we're done.
All right,
if
this
I stop ranting.
All right, this is me handing it over.
Okay, the official match of the week this week, Mrs. Crossfire and listeners, is Kane versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 14, because as I stated before, my surgery is on May 19th. Don't say that date.
The spooky episode.
As I said, a lot of wrestling fans remember when See No Evil came out in 05, 06, there was this storyline that Kane had some sort of PTSD that every time May 19th was mentioned, he'd lose his fucking mind, and that led to Luke Gallows coming in as the imposter Kane. Ended up being a pretty meh kind of match, but it was an interesting storyline, but because of this and the little Kane thing, I did dig through the archives, and I landed on this one. It's a good match. Kane took 3 tombstones from The Undertaker before he was beaten. By God, that's gotta be James.
Kane.
That's
What?
gotta be James.
James?
Wait,
What?
what? I didn't rip that off at all.
Who the hell is James?
That's gotta be Kane. It's Undertaker versus Kane. Kane versus Undertaker. Say it whichever order you want. I don't give a fuck. WrestleMania 14. But now, as I said, Mrs. Crossfire, I believe, and I could be wrong, that you have not seen this match at all.
No. I
Okay,
don't think
so
I've ever seen it.
We will move on, guys. We will move on to our watch-along of Jeff Jarrett versus China at No Mercy, not No Way Out. I don't know why I said that earlier in the episode. My bad, slip of the tongue. Jeff Jarrett versus China for the Intercontinental Championship in a good housekeeping match. All right, Mrs. Crossfire, are you ready to hit play on this?
I'm ready to rock.
In the background, you can hear the music of the New Age Outlaws, who just retained the tag titles or something, I believe. We're about to see the video package to see what brought us here.
Unforgiven.
Jarrett can't beat China 1-on-1, by God, I tell you, by God, by God, by God. Oh, is this where he hits fucking Fabulous Moolah with the guitar? Oh, he just fucking
Booted her.
He booted Mae Young for real there.
Fucking
In saying
great.
that, knowing Mae Young, she was probably like, lay it in, you pussy.
Badass.
Who's that? Is that Terry or Deborah?
Kind of look like Deborah, but I'm not 100% sure.
I can't remember off the top of my head. Back out! China beat Jarrett! China's the Intercontinental Champion! Back out! Oh, we got a second referee here. That's Dr. Tom Pritchard. Oh my God.
Yes.
Dr. Tom, arguably the greatest wrestling trainer of all time. My God! China just pedigreed Dr. Tom Pritchard! Oh, he sparked his head on that.
Yikes. The next night.
Oh, that's right, because Jarrett was like doing the like real I hate women like gimmick at this time, which is like what made it so funny that Deborah was supporting him like every step of the way.
Yeah.
I get my rematch at No Mercy for the Intercontinental title. Or maybe you don't have the balls.
Maybe you don't have the balls.
Maybe you don't have the balls. I don't know why I sounded like JR when I was in.
Yeah, he sounds super
impersonating.
Oklahomian.
But it's gonna be the good housekeeping way. You will
Jesus Christ.
the role of a woman.
The role of a woman, yeah, sure.
My God, look at how rusty that stove was. I hope that was just like a prop painted to look that way, because if that's an actual rusty, like, that's fucking gross.
Yeah, it's from out the back.
This is
What
how
they cook the hot dogs on. Jeez.
bit of tetanus with the arrest. Yeah, they just showed the clip of when he blasted Moolah with the guitar,
Jesus Christ.
putting Mae Young in the figure 4. Good old fashioned mud wrestling match.
It's like fast speed. No.
Why does the guitar riff still sound like the New Age Outlaws theme song that was just
Yeah.
playing though?
I just hit China with a coffee urn, and China may be knocked unconscious here, King. That was a toaster, King.
I feel like, unironically, they actually had good hopes for this match.
Yeah.
Cause like it's not the best video package ever, but they're
put a lot into it.
really hyping this up. Like I feel like
Yeah.
obviously, as I said, you haven't seen this, but this video package is probably 10 times better than what's about to come out of this. And this is actually
Yeah.
Jeff Jarrett's last match in the WWF ever before he went back over to WCW. So, spoiler alert, China wins the title, but
Yeah.
I think I already told you that.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically, the finish is Jarrett hits it with the title. Decisions, matches restarted because it's not a household item.
Fucking love that. She's like dressing him up in an apron. She's like taking his like shorts and wearing them off. That was fantastic. I love that. It was great.
She's in a laundry basket.
Take it out the laundry.
Push her off the edge of the...
Oh, oh fuck. Here we go.
It was actually a really good video package.
Yeah, that's
though.
actually really fucking good. The montage was fantastic.
There's got
he's
to
bringing
be-
out the kitchen sink
Everything but the kitchen sink. Oh, wait, he's got it back out.
with Miss Kitty.
He's even got the kitchen sink, JR. He's even got the kitchen sink. I love Jerry Lawler.
He's with Miss Kitty.
Miss Kitty. And Jerry Lawler's losing his mind because I believe this is at the time him and her were actually still married. Oh, no, wait, no, hang on. He was married to the cat. Are they the same person?
I don't know. Apparently her name's Miss Kitty or something.
I'm pretty sure I just saw her kitty and now I feel dirty.
I love that she got in the ring and then covered her ass. It's fucking hilarious.
I shared a thing on my Instagram. I don't know if it was early this morning or late last night. It might have been late last night. I think it's probably early yesterday morning that Mercedes Martinez posted about like respecting women's wrestling and whatnot.
Yeah.
It really is like refreshing. Like obviously we're still not where you'd like to be,
Yeah.
but seeing where we are today compared to back then, like, and you and I have talked about this with the new
Yeah.
version of NXT, where like it's kind of gone backwards
Yeah.
a little bit.
Like,
But-
I've got nothing against it. Like, sex sells at the end of the day. But, and like, if people feel comfortable doing that, that's fine. It's just not something that I'm as comfortable with. It'd just be cool, like, to have wrestling, like, women's wrestling be taken more seriously.
Turn that down a little bit. I'm pretty sure the earphones are still picking it up. I'm just rocking out because she's coming out to Triple H's My Time theme song.
Yeah.
What's on? Yo, Jimmy, hit me with that Triple H. It's not Triple H, it's China. Oh, those forearms are really bad.
Oh, man.
See, like, this is one of those things, like, and I don't like speaking ill of the dead, but, like, China was groundbreaking, and more power to her, like, you know, the intergender stuff, but...
Yeah.
Ugh. Like, I feel like the only decent person that China, or the only decent matches China ever really had were the ones that she had against Jericho, and he busted his fucking ass to make her look good. Ooh, inverted atomic drop right on the cojones.
It's just like, could you imagine now if she had some proper training and, like, she was still around now, though? Like,
Yeah.
I think she'd be fantastic. Like, against Rhea and that, I reckon it'd be
Well,
fucking good.
Actually, today, as we record this, I believe, it's the 16th of May here as we record this, meaning it's the 15th in the US. It's actually the anniversary of China's last match 11 years ago. She returned at a TNA show, at an Impact show. She was Kurt Angle's tag team partner. And, like, you know, she still wasn't, like, the best. But even in that match, and she'd been away from the business for a while by that point, but that was one of the best performances she'd had ever.
Yep.
Like, and I guess she's
Yeah.
working with Kurt. He's probably, you know, helped to put the match together sort of
Yeah.
thing. But I think that was actually against Jeff Jarrett. I'm pretty sure it was against Jeff and Karen, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Out of the frying pan into the fire, by God.
Frying pan! Here we go. Toilet seat. Oh, yes.
It's a fucking cheaply made toilet seat. That broke so easily. Like, it wasn't even the bit that hit him. It was the other bit that just fell off.
Yeah, the screws. They loosen the little screw bits by the looks of it.
As someone that is a cleaner in his shoot job, brother, can confirm, like, they're fucking made like shit. Even the public ones, like,
Yeah.
screws fall out, like, all the time. It's fucking
Did you
ridiculous.
just shove cake in his mouth?
Yeah, there's like cake and there's fish and
Ugh. Nasty.
fish cakes.
Oh, into the pole.
Speaking of fish cakes, Miss Kitty almost showing her ass to the wall again.
Ugh.
Either that trash can was really gimmicked up or it was just shittily made because she didn't pull that at all. So
No.
I'm good for Jeff Jarrett that, well, there goes the fan. Good for Jeff Jarrett that trash can did crumple the way it did because
Yeah.
she pulled her forearm something chronic and then with the trash can she was just like fucking bang.
Alright, she's cleared the table.
Whoa.
She's cleared the table.
Now the saucepan's still on the table though. Put it on his head like Bart Simpson.
I thought she was going to whack him in the head with it, actually. Ah, she just yeeted it. Is she going to move and she's going to go through it? Yep. Because she set up the table. It's the rules.
She just went ass
It's
first.
the rules. It's
She
the
just
rules.
went ass first through that fucking table.
She set it up, so she was going through it.
Referee tell along says only two. Holla holla.
Holla, holla.
Oh my god. Like again, like I know.
We're having a match
Again, like I
with
know.
the Undertaker.
I know she's passed on, and like I don't want to make fun of people that passed on, but it's so bad that it's like Jeff Jarrett was mainly politics as well, but
Yeah.
he at least was a solid hand, a solid worker.
Yeah.
Like that spot where she missed the elbow and then somehow lands on her ass rather than
Yeah.
her back. Like what the fuck?
Ugh, she just got slapped with a fish. That's nasty.
She just slipped on the fish. Oh my
Ugh.
god, Jeff Jarrett just
He did
clocked
not
China
hold
with that
at
trash
all.
can right upside the head.
He was giving her a massive wedgie. Jesus.
She
mate.
already had a massive wedgie as it was, but
Oh, man.
oh, he's got the iron board.
Like, I guess, like, to an extent, like, was it meant to, like, I guess they built it up a lot, but, like, was it meant to be this cheesy?
No,
'Cause,
and
like,
that's what I mean. Like I think
because I I'm getting, like, Sammy vibes, like,
Jesus.
Sami Zayn. Oh my god, she just got yeeted.
she tried to do like the whole Triple H up and over to the floor, and she got caught up
Yeah.
and almost. But the thing is, though, like as
I'm just getting Sami Zayn vibes, like him being cheesy doing
in
stupid shit.
in this day and age, it probably wouldn't fly. But I do dig the whole like battle of the sexes thing, like the whole Good Housekeeping gimmick. I dig the idea behind it, but I just feel like China wasn't actually into it as much. Jarrett's not into it. Like this is his last match and he's out.
Yeah.
But it's
It's on the nose, but in saying that, a lot of WWE shit's on the nose.
like just before, as you were trying to point out, that it reminded you of Sammy versus Johnny Knoxville, and I can see that.
Yeah.
Jarrett's trying to fucking get the ironing board to stand up, and it just kept falling over, so he gets the shit, and he just smacked it out of the fucking way.
Yeah.
And now that's why it's there, because Jarrett literally just yeeted it. He was like, fuck this. The spot's done. He's trying to put her in the figure four, and he's covered in flour. China's also covered in flour, because she's the one that threw it. Miss Kitty's taken fucking 10 years to get out of the ring.
She just got covered in shit, to be fair. She was a bit fucking slippery trying to get up. She's wearing heels and she's got shit everywhere.
Fuck me in the match that goes on after this. Like, I know they would clean the canvas and stuff during, like, interviews
Yeah.
and video packages and stuff, but you just about have to change the entire canvas. But I
Yeah.
think this was back in the day where they didn't, because, like, there'd be, like, blood stains and stuff until after the events.
Yeah.
I do love that, though. Like, it's no DQ within the realm of household items, but you better break the rope before 5. I actually, like, I'm not... I
Yeah.
probably sounded sarcastic, but no, I love that.
Yeah.
It's like when they do the chair matches, Batista low-blowed Undertaker, and Teddy Long's like, no, like, we're restarting. It's basically the finish to this match. Like, Batista cheated, Teddy Long restarted the match because it was a low blow, not a chair. But speaking of low blows,
Ouch.
he just got a fucking tongs to the cojones.
Oh, she didn't
Oh
hold
my-
back that either.
And
Whacked him in the head.
she's just throwing that fucking trash can like it's a sack of spuds or something. Oh my...
She's not pulling back any punches.
That was a
Jesus
fucking pot
Christ.
to the side of that. Oh, she's going to pie face him?
Pie faces. Yeah, oh, fuck. That whacked hard. She's not even...
Oh no! She just put pie all over the fucking camera.
Just exploded.
Foreshadowing of her
Here we go. Here comes the sink.
Foreshadowing of
China's
her
got the
future
sink.
career.
Oh, fuck.
Is that too much? 1, 2. Oh, he kicked out after even being hit by the kitchen sink.
Oh, my God. Even the kitchen sink?
Everything and the kitchen sink. That's why I love that Jerry Lawler made a point of pointing that out when Jarrett was coming out. He's even got the kitchen sink, Jerry.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, she's going to pedigree him into the pie. Or the cake, or whatever it is.
I think it's a cake of some sort.
It's a sponge cake? Oh, God! She took a bump in the cake!
First.
She took a bump in the cake! That's hardcore! Oh, no, she's took out referee Teddy Long.
Oh, no, she
Referee Teddy
headbutted
Long.
him. She got slingshotted into him and fucking got him. Clocked him one.
That'd be fucking annoying. I feel like that'd be worse than getting blood in your eyes. Like he's got flour and shit like just dripping down his face.
Oh, yeah.
As a blind fuck, I'm like, I feel like, that was the softest belt shot I've ever seen.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
And his kitty is celebrating because Jeff Jarrett has retained the Intercontinental Championship. No.
Hang on, here we go.
Hold on a minute, player. Hold on a minute, player. Teddy Long says he's going to restart the match. Holla, holla, holla. You use the championship, player. That's not a household item. And for that, you go one-on-one with The Undertaker. I mean, China. Teddy Long. Ladies and gentlemen, referee Theodore Long has noted that the Intercontinental Championship is not a household item.
Not a household item.
Therefore, this match will continue. You leave Howard Finkel alone, Jeff Jarrett. Michael Cole. He's so young with his seedy little fucking mustache.
The heck?
Referee.
Putting fucking Teddy in
I mean-
like, look.
You could argue that a guitar is a
Guitar
household
that had-
item.
It is.
1, 2, 3.
Oh my God,
China is
she
the
won.
new champion. China's the new champion. Those people in the front row are at like every event ever. In the fucking red shirt, the
Yeah.
pink shirt. They're front row at WrestleMania 23. And this is like 1999.
That's crazy.
It's like Brock Lesnar guy now. Like he always wears the same shirt.
Yeah.
That's why I put over Frank the Clown. Like he's made something of him. So by doing that.
I mean, he's made something of himself. Mick Foley sees him as a son-in-law now, so...
So basically the crux of this was, you and I weren't sure of like how long the questions were going to be because you were like, fuck, like, I don't know, like, you know.
Yeah, I had a
like,
few, and I was like, do I say them
I've
all?
got all this stuff I want to ask you, but then you're like, oh, is this like, you know. So we're like, oh, fuck it, we'll do what me and Tom did and we'll just watch a really bad match. Obviously, me and Tom, well, Tom and I, Hellfire and I, we did the gimmick battle royal at WrestleMania 17, but this is one that, I looked at like 5 or 6 different lists, and this match was very high up on most of the lists
Yeah.
for being unintentionally funny.
It was good, though.
And
It was good. Like, it was shit, but it was good.
it's like, it's so bad that it's
yeah.
good, like,
Yeah, it works.
and that brings an end to Jeff Jarrett's tenure in the WWF, and I'll press pause now. I won't watch The Rock versus British Bulldog. All right, what did you think of that match, Mrs. Crossfire?
I think it was pretty good. Like, it was shit, but it was good.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I mean,
Yeah.
as I said, like I've watched it before. It's been a while since I've seen
Yeah.
it, so it was good to go back and watch it, especially having someone with me to watch it. But it was just I don't know. It was funny. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I saw you genuinely cracking a little bit
I
of
was
it.
cracking it. I was getting into it. I was actually getting into it. Like, as shit as it was.
I still don't
was
understand
getting
how
into
she
it.
went ass first through the table, but anyway, it is what it is, I suppose.
Yeah.
But we're just shy of 2 hours.
Okay, that's not bad. Not bad.
After I cut out the dead space from my package. I'm so excited. I have an entire box full of Ring of Honor DVDs just sitting here ready to open, and I've got to go to work not long after this as I record this, but I think that should bring an end to it. I'm very happy that we managed to find the time to squeeze in an episode 51, because by the time this goes out, provided surgery isn't postponed in the next 2 days, because we're leaving on Wednesday, so if they cancel it while I'm almost on my way there, I'm not going to be fucking happy, but
Yep.
I'm glad we squeezed this in. I was pretty happy with how that came out. As I said, I didn't want to seem like I was being like a mark for myself by being like, hey, do you want to ask me questions? But
No, I thought it was fine because I learned stuff about you too.
I just feel like it's an interesting thing that people do.
Different dynamic.
Chris Jericho's done it on Talk is Jericho. Chris Van Vliet recently did it as well. I haven't listened to the episode just yet, but it's just...
It's a different dynamic. I like it. Yeah.
But I think that'll bring us to a close, unless Mrs. Crossfire wants to bring something else up or talk about something else or ask me something else.
No, but I do have something on my mind though. You just got some mail. You just got some mail.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I wonder, what could it be?
I just
rearranged it because I was going to say letter, but it's technically a mail. It's a package, so...
Mrs. Crossfire is way too influenced by listening to the Matt and Leah Bear With Us podcast, or Corey Graves and Carmella. We're calling you out, Matt and Leah. We're calling you out. Mixed tag match. Winner gets, the fancy studio.
I just love that podcast, okay? And I love Blue's Clues, so... Just saying.
He's a man,
it's all I could get. Because when you were saying that, I have to cut out some dead space because, I got my package and stuff, and I'm like, in my brain, ADHD.
Mrs. Crossfire could have just been like, you just got some mail. I just would have left it in.
Yeah. Full of sugar, full of energy. Energy drinks, in fact.
I can smell it from here. It smells really good. But I'm hoping, as I said, we'll wrap it up, but I'm hoping that because we have managed to squeeze this in, that hopefully that gives me time to recover, and hopefully I can put out episode 52. Maybe we can just do an episode next week and talk about our Sydney trip and whatever else. And
if you're not well, I could steer the ship. I just interviewed you. Not big noting myself, but I felt like I did a great job. I did a great job.
You are a wrestling fan, though. Obviously, I'm still educating you and stuff, so if worse comes to worse, I'm sure there's something that you could pick out and we can go through and... Yeah. We'll figure something out. So basically, you heard it here first on episode 51 when this drops. Mrs. Crossfire has said that there will indeed be an episode 52.
I'm going to try.
Which will mark a full year of podcasts.
Ooh.
Holy fucking shit. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I probably should have waited a second to press that button, but I felt it would have been. I felt it would have been funny to press it before I said it, just to note the fact that yes, you're about to get a shitty pun, and if your sister listens to this, she's not going to be happy because she hates my puns.
Yeah. We just want to big note that we have a fancy soundboard. That's what it is.
I love the soundboard. Shout out to Rode. Their products, the materials are fucking
lit.
The amount of podcast people that are using, even at least just the mics.
Yeah, my old job used to use Rode.
Absolutely fantastic. But thank you everyone for your continued support. As I said, by the time you hear this, it'll be episode 51, and it'll be last week that we had Mrs. Crossfire's episode. That was meant to be 800 downloads. We're almost at 900 now because of life. As well documented, we're both going for stuff, but let's keep pushing. Let's get to that 900 and let's go down the road to 1,000. There's plenty of podcasts out there that do 10 times that amount, but there's also a lot of podcasts, whether it's wrestling, whether it's true crime, whether it's sports, whatever it is, that they've got probably double the amount of episodes that I have, and they haven't reached that number yet. So I'm happy with where we're at. I'm content, but I still want to push it. I want to grow this thing. I want to get some more sponsors. I've ticked off, what did I have? Did I have 5 or 6 things on my wish list for 2022? And regardless, there's only 2 things that I haven't ticked off. One is getting a chance to just kick someone in the face, hit a big old radiation kick, a claymore, call it what you want. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen for the remainder of the year if the surgery isn't postponed, which we're going to assume it's not at this point because I have stitches in my eyes. But the big thing out of everything that I wanted was to get sponsors for the podcast by the end of this year. We're in May. It's 5 months in. It's possible. It's possible. I'm hoping, but as always, check the links in the description for my social medias, merch stores. Don't forget there is 2 Courting Conversation t-shirts. One does actually feature myself and Mrs. Crossfire in Simpsons form, Simpsonized from the photo that we took on our wedding day. Also check the links, also check the description for upcoming events. There is currently a Clash in the Capital link in this week's episode, because by the time this drops, it'll be 2 weeks away. Go check that out at the Canberra PCYC. As I said in the last episode, I did make the poster. It's nothing fancy, but Mrs. Crossfire, with her graphic design background, will be doing some of them in the future. So when you see the ones that are more complex, you'll know that it was her that did them and not me. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. The song of the week was Partners in Crime by Set It Off, featuring Ash Costello, as per request of Mrs. Crossfire.
That was my pick, fam.
And the match of the week, it's not the Good Housekeeping match. But, I mean, if you want to laugh, go watch it. But the match of the week was Kane versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 14. I am the Essential John L. Crossfire. With me today, the co-host, I guess, the main host.
Main event, come on.
She was co-hosting, she was the main interviewer. I was the interviewee, she was the interviewer. Well, I'm not even going to edit that out. Whatever, Botchamania. She was the main host, I guess.
Main event.
I mean, I've done the outro and the intro, but you did the most important part. You did the interview, so I guess you're higher billing. Is this Mrs. Crossfire featuring John F. Crossfire?
Yeah, it is.
Thank you guys again for tuning in. I'm just ranting at this point. I'm going to wrap it up. You guys were just caught
in conversation. Thanks for shooting the shit with me, fam.
Thank you for coming, Mrs. Crossfire. Thank you for interviewing me.
That's okay. I will see you next time.